So good afternoon, everybody. We were taking up government budgeting. So we have discussed budget types of budgets, structure of budget, types of receipts and expenditures, and budgetary deficits, and few measures to reduce fiscal deficit, that is fiscal reforms. Now, next topic is fiscal policy. So fiscal policy we have already discussed in brief. Okay, what is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy means policy through which means government deals with the receipts and expenditures of government or revenue of government, and it is also called budgetary policy. Okay, we have already discussed this. And budget is a statement of fiscal policy only, annual statement of fiscal policy, and the fiscal policy measures. In inflation, I told you 3 measures and how these measures could be used to control inflation. Like the 3 measures are, we have discussed taxes, the prime source of revenue of government. Second is government expenditure. Public expenditure means government expenditure, and other is public debt. Okay, so I will briefly discuss these components, these measures of fiscal policy. So taxes we have discussed already. Now, second is public expenditure, government expenditure. So now write down public expenditure. Public expenditure. So public expenditure means government expenditure simply. Okay, we may call it government expenditure, or even maybe called budget expenditure, because government, whatever government spend, that is through budget. So government expenditure or budget expenditure. Now, first of all, I will discuss classifications of this public expenditure. So one classification we have discussed already, that is revenue expenditure. Revenue and capital expenditure we have discussed. So what is revenue expenditure? Means expenditure which is incurred on day-to-day things, current consumption expenditure, normally recurrent in nature, usually do not have any long-term implications, usually essential or in general non-developmental. Other is capital expenditure. So capital expenditure means either it will create asset of government or will reduce liability. So usually it is developmental in nature and has long-term implications. The examples we have discussed already in detail. Other is developmental expenditure. And non-developmental expenditure. Okay, so what is developmental expenditure? So just write down one line. Okay, developmental expenditure. So just mention it directly promotes economic development. Okay, very simple. It directly promotes economic development. Example, expenditure on education, health, okay, infrastructure, subsidies, etc. Subsidies, welfare payments, that is developmental expenditure. Now, what is non-developmental expenditure? Can I say this expenditure does not promote economic development? Correct or wrong? Now, give me answer yes or no. So, if I say it does not promote economic development, so it will be correct or wrong? What do you think? Write down what is this non-developmental expenditure. So obviously it is wrong to say it does not promote. It actually does not directly promote economic development, but it is essential. Like, defense is essential, civil administration is essential, and interest payment is essential if government has borrowed, but it will not promote directly. It is important for development. Like without defense or without administration, no country can achieve high level of development. There will be chaos actually in the economy. So this is wrong to say it does not promote development. So mention that it is essential expenditure. It is essential expenditure which does not directly promote economic development, which does not directly promote economic development. Okay, which does not directly promote economic development. So indirectly it is needed for development, like defense is needed, civil administration is needed, staff salaries are needed. Okay, so maintenance of assets, day-to-day expenditure is needed, but directly it will not promote economic development. Okay, so another classification is developmental and non-developmental. And finally, third classification is plan expenditure and non-plan expenditure. What is plan expenditure? Just write down one sentence. It is incurred to plan expenditure. It is incurred on those programs which are mentioned under the current 5-year plan. Incurred on those programs which are mentioned under the current 5-year plan. Okay, so whatever thing is mentioned in our current 5-year plan, so if money is spent on that, that is plan expenditure. Okay, and non-plan, obviously which is not planned will become non-plan. Or just write down one line, it is budget expenditure. It is budget expenditure or government expenditure other than plan expenditure. Okay, so other than plan expenditure. So budget expenditure other than plan expenditure. So whatever is planned, not planned will become non-plan. And what is planned? Very simple. I told you, anything project expenditure, anything which is mentioned under the current 5-year plan. Very simple. Now, what things are mentioned in the current 5-year plan? So mostly it is developmental and predictable as per Planning Commission. So this includes, as mentioned, that as per Planning Commission, it is usually developmental and predictable expenditure. So as per Planning Commission, it is usually developmental and predictable expenditure. Okay, so developmental and predictable expenditure. Example, like few examples, plan expenditure like expenditure on on social sector, like school, hospitals, means education, health. So in the 12th plan was last 5-year plan. The largest allocation was made to social sector, then expenditure on energy, okay, transportation. Okay, you might write down few examples. Even disaster management was included later. Disaster management, expenditure on disaster management. Okay, so the example of plan expenditure, social sector, expenditure on energy, transportation, communications, disaster management, most infrastructure. Energy, transportation is infrastructure as such. Okay, and here like defense. So defense used to be non-plan. Subsidies. Okay, subsidies non-plan also. Although subsidies are developmental, other is salaries of government employees. Salaries non-plan. Other is maintenance of assets. Maintenance of assets like whitewashing, etc. Whitewashing in government buildings. Other is on unfinished projects. On unfinished projects. So expenditure on unfinished projects, like if a hospital to be constructed in a particular plan, and that hospital may not be completed. So if money will be spent in the next 5-year plan, then it will become non-plan. Although it is capital expenditure, it is actually developmental expenditure. Still, because it is not mentioned in the current 5-year plan, so it will become non-plan. Okay, so a few examples you mentioned. What is the status of this plan, non-plan expenditure? I have already told you, okay, this has already been abolished now. So why I give you examples? Just to give you the reason why it was abolished. Okay, so I have written the examples just to make you understand why it was abolished. You know, it is now abolished. Okay, so mention abolished in which year? In 2017. So now government do not classify expenditure into plan or non-plan. Now this is no more. Okay. Why it was abolished? You know, two committees suggested abolition of this. One committee I have already told you, Bimal Jalan Committee, that is Expenditure Management Commission. Okay, Bimal Jalan Committee in 2014. And before that, one more committee also already suggested this, and this Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee. Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee in 2011. It suggested that this should be abolished. And why it should be abolished? So reasons why these committees said these should be abolished. The reason was that these committees said that this is arbitrary. So it is arbitrary classification. It is arbitrary classification. Arbitrary means that there is no criteria. There is no logic in this classification. Okay, that is no. Now just see this thing and give me answer on one question. Is it really arbitrary or not? Now, Planning Commission said that it is developmental in nature. So, but developmental here is also there. Unfinished project like on hospital, school, that is here. Okay, even subsidy is also developmental. So developmental here is also we have here as well as here. Okay, second thing, Planning Commission said it will be predictable. So then why disaster management is here? So although earlier disaster management used to be here, from 10th 5-year plan shifted to here. So actually there was no specific criteria. What the point? So there was no specific criteria. Anything you put here, anything you put here. Unnecessary, it was a classification. So this is the reason it was purely arbitrary. Anything put here, it is plan. Anything you just put here. Because like subsidies, defense, salaries, all this maintenance of assets, that was non-plan. Okay, and no criteria was there. Whatever Planning Commission stated, that was not followed as such. So unnecessary classification. This is a very reasonable classification, rational. Assets are created or not. Okay, whether it is promoting development or not directly. So these are very, sensible classification, reasonable. Here there was no actually criteria for this classification. So that is why it was arbitrary. One thing. Second thing was that it was not a functional classification. It was not a functional. Not a functional classification. It was not a functional classification. That is, it was not serving any purpose. Okay, that is not practically serving any purpose, not used. Just this is plan, this is non-plan, just arbitrarily put here. So it was not a functional classification. Okay, so it was not serving any purpose also. So unnecessary this classification was made. And there were some repercussions of this. Repercussions were that non-plan was supposed to be bad. And there was always a pressure on government to reduce non-plan expenditure. And there were allegations that government is forced to reduce this, and government was curtailing expenditure on maintenance of assets and some other essential services. So government was compelled to reduce. Some pressure was there on government. So unnecessary, it is bad and it should be reduced. So without any logic, because there is no criteria for this. So this was the reason. So that is why government abolished this in 2017. Clear? So because Bimal Jalan Committee in 2014 and Dr. C. Rangarajan Committee. So this was Committee on Effective Management of Public Expenditure suggested it should be abolished. So finally in 2017 this distinction abolished. And even 5-year plan were also abolished, because the last 5-year plan was 12th 5-year plan, and that ended in 2017 from 12 to 17. Okay, and after that we don't have 5-year plan, we have 3-year action plan, and which is a part of 7 years National Development Agenda, and overall that is prepared as per the vision document for 15 years in consonance with Sustainable Development Goals, which I told you along with SDGs about Government of India steps. So I told you we have aligned our development policy as per Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, so we have now even 5-year plans are no more. And as you must have idea, Planning Commission was also abolished already in 2014. So because Planning Commission abolished in 2014, and from 15 we have Niti Aayog. From 1st January 2015 Niti Aayog established. So in planning we will discuss. Okay, so what the point? So now the question is that will there be any repercussion of this abolition of this? Any negative impact? So answer is no negative impact. There won't be any negative impact. So actually there was some kind of unnecessary paperwork was done without any actually logic, or without any reason, without any function, and that paperwork is now abolished. Okay, and even there were allegations that there was pressure on government to reduce this was supposed to be bad, and it was leading to government was pressurized to reduce some essential expenditures like expenditure on maintenance of assets, etc. So these were allegations against it. So now, so what do you think? It is, you would suggest to be a, what do you think? It is a major reform or minor reform or no reform? Major, minor, no reform. Just give me answer. This abolition of plan, non-plan expenditure. Just I told you, in budget 3 changes were made. One, preponement of budgets. Other is this plan, non-plan, and one railway budget abolished. So answer is certainly it is a reform. We cannot say not a reform, but not a major reform. Just paperwork was done. Now that paperwork will not be done. Unnecessary paper was what done. So it was not a, it is not a significant reform, but certainly we will consider reform, and there is no repercussion of this. Okay, so minor reform. So it is not a major reform. Okay, all of you are correct except I think one person has given wrong answer. Otherwise, and Deepak said no reform. No, I don't think no reform, because unnecessary, why you are doing some unnecessary work? If we remove something unnecessary, that is reform. So minor reform we can say, because there is, and there is no repercussion of this. Okay, now next thing is that, can you tell me one more question here? Is it possible, could it be possible to abolish this distinction without abolishing 5-year plans? Because in 2017, 5-year plan was abandoned. Now my question is that if 5-year plan may not be abandoned, 5-year plans may be there, maybe we might have even 5-year plan now, then could it be abandoned? Yes or no? Yes or no? I repeat question. If 5-year plans may not be abandoned, like there may be, still we might be following 5-year plans. Planning commission may be there. Okay, 5-year plan may be there. So then this, could we have abolished this? Yes or no? So answer is yes, it could be abolished. No, Rudransh, you are wrong. So answer is yes here, because you know, okay, 5-year plan will be there, but this is classification of expenditure, and you know we don't have 5-year plan. But do you think we have abundant planning? So it should be clear, planning can never be abandoned. Otherwise, the government will do arbitrarily then things. So planning is must. Even budget is a plan. Okay, what planning is deciding in advance what we are going to do in future. So we have planning, and planning will always be there. Can never be abandoned planning. So the time period name changed by government. Got the point? So it should be very clear that even if planning commission may be there, even if 5-year plans may be there, this may be abolished. And it should be clear that like this Rangarajan committee, it suggested that this distinction should be abolished. And it did not say that planning commission to be abolished or 5-year plans to be abolished. It should be very clear. So this committee said, did not say that planning commission to be abolished. Yes, this committee point out some issues with planning commission. I will discuss what issues were there and why planning commission was abandoned. Okay, some issues were there, but this did not say that planning commission to be abolished or 5-year plans to be abolished. Okay, so this could be then. So answer should be yes. So clear? So this is plan, non-plan expenditure. Now finally, we have in this expenditure section, so expenditure reforms, the most important point is expenditure reforms. Expenditure reforms. So expenditure reforms means, what does mean? Expenditure reform means measures to reduce public expenditure. And I have already discussed this. So on the mainly recommendation of Bimal Jalan committee, I have discussed that various reforms were taken. So I will give you recap of those, like subsidies to be reduced. Okay, like I said, DBT to be introduced, post office to be converted to payment bank, PB, payment bank. I have told you already. I told you some austerity measures, administrative expenditure to be reduced, austerity measures like 5-star meeting, hotel meetings, okay, you know, business class air travel, foreign delegations, purchase of new vehicles to be abandoned. So I told you already. Okay, the measures taken by government. And apart from that, even NPS is also National Pension System, NPS, since 2004 is also a measure to reduce government expenditure. So these are measures initiated by government. Now next point here, I have discussed already expenditure reforms. Now the next point is that what constraints are faced by government, why it is difficult for government to reduce expenditure. To mention constraints faced by government to reduce public expenditure. Even this question was asked in mains in 2019. what problems are faced by government in reducing expenditure. Okay, so what are the problems? Now the issue is that which expenditure to be reduced. If government will reduce expenditure, then now one by one I will start. For example, take an example of defense. Now, can you suggest, or any economist can suggest that government should reduce defense expenditure? Yes or no? Can an economist suggest that defense expenditure should be reduced? Give me answer yes or no. So very simple thing, defense is much above development because security is above development. So if there is no security of country, if there is no, the freedom, then what would you do with development? Got the point? So it is not actually the job of an economist to suggest ki increase, decrease. So it is it is the job of security experts, and whatever they say, economics means finance ministry has to make provision for that amount. So it is beyond economics, first of all. So economics cannot even suggest that you should reduce. It should be clear. So it is beyond the domain of economist. Now one thing, but economists can analyze. Okay, we will do analysis. If it is more or less increase, decrease, we can do analysis, but we cannot say that you should reduce this. Okay, why? Because it is much above development. So in India, defense expenditure is how much? What percentage of GDP approximately? It is close to 2% of GDP. So defense expenditure is close to 2% of GDP. Now the question is that it is high or low. So that is always relative. High or low is always relative term. Now if we compare with other countries, so other countries are in general spending much more. Like China is spending about 3% on GDP. Pakistan is spending about 8 to 10%. But we don't have any competition in Pakistan. It hardly matters for us. But China matters, because China's GDP is 2.5 times of ours, and China is spending more than that, means much more than 2% of GDP, means close to 3%. So in that context, America is also spending more than 3% of GDP. So it is not high. Okay, so it is moderate, we can say. We say, I think global average may be close to that. So it is not high. Okay, Vande, so if it is not already high, so we cannot say reduction, simple thing. And even if it might be higher, on higher side, then this is not the right of economists to suggest. Okay, so one chapter is closed here. Second, interest payment is the largest single item of payment. Now, can you give me answer, can it be reduced? Yes or no? An economist can give suggestion to reduce interest payments. Yes or no? Practically, I'm talking about. Practically. So yes or no? So answer is clear, no. Why? Because it is committed expenditure. We have committed. When government has borrowed, government has said that we will pay you this much interest, and then government cannot say that we will not pay you interest, we don't have money in our pocket. Okay, this will be breach of commitment. So interest, तो कुछ streaming में problem आ रही है. So what do you think? So answer is no, no possibility, neither here nor here, because it is committed expenditure. Okay, now it is okay. Okay, so this interest payment, ठीक है. Interest payment now cannot be reduced at all. The only thing is that government should pay back the debt. But how government will pay back? This is very difficult practically. Government should start earning so much, tax revenue may increase so much that government may pay back debt. So it is not possible at least in short run. So okay, so I have repeated only this interest payment cannot be reduced practically. Why? Because whatever interest government is paying, that is already committed. Okay, when government actually borrowed, there is a agreement may be signed, or whatever interest is mentioned in the government security, government has to pay that interest. There is no option to reduce that. The only option to reduce interest rate is to repay, pay back the debt amount, and it is not practically feasible. So government can pay back when government's revenue will increase much like tax revenue, then government can pay back, but practically not possible, especially in short run. Okay, I have repeated twice. Okay, defense expenditure. Okay, defense, I told you already that defense is above economics, above development, because security is prime thing. So it is not the subject matter of economist that defense expenditure is more or less. Whatever is need for defense expenditure as per security expert, that has to be provided by the finance ministry. Okay, and in India, defense expenditure is not high. I told you it is close to 2% of GDP, and which is not high because other countries are spending much more. Like China is spending close to 3%. US is spending more than 3%, more than 3%. China is Pakistan is spending 8 to 10%. So overall, if we compare with other countries, so it is not on higher side. And even if it might be on higher side, still economists could not have given suggestion that you should reduce government defense expenditure. Now other salaries. Salaries can be reduced, yes or no? Give me answer, yes or no. Some scope is there to reduce salaries of government staff. Is there any scope? So answer is no scope. Rather, with gradually over time, with different finance commission, pay commissions are giving recommendations, so the salaries are increasing. Just like a few years back, government adopted seventh pay commission's report, and then salaries increase, and DA will continuously increase with increased inflation. Then government cannot do anything. Okay, so no option, no, not at all. In pension, so pension could be reduced. Yes or no? Or if yes, then short run, long run, or never? So answer is pension can be reduced, but in long run. Okay. Only in long run. Like NPS, I told you already. So pension burden on government will reduce when the people, government servants who joined before 2004, when they will retire and when they die, then burden will reduce. Not now. So pension could be reduced, but in long run only. And long run means how much long run? When the people who joined government of India on or before 2004, when they will retire and then they will die and their spouses will also die, then burden will reduce here. Because pension is also given to spouse after death of a civil servant, although that is somewhat less. So some scope is there, but in long run. Okay. Now, what are other important expenditures? Like other is, we have discussed this subsidies. Subsidies can be reduced to some extent. So we have discussed already, but practically it is difficult. And you should remember that subsidies, some scope is there. Okay, so some scope. Okay, some minor scope. Why? Because recently in the last 5-6 years, subsidies reduced because of not, they reduce automatically. Why? Because crude oil price came down. So petroleum subsidy is abundant, the second largest subsidy. But otherwise, if crude oil price would not have reduced, then certainly subsidies must not have reduced. Because if you consider other subsidies, all those have increased. Okay, like food subsidy increased much more, and I think that is desirable. Food subsidy is very much desirable. Clear? And even other subsidies like fertilizer subsidy, although a lot of problems are there, but reducing subsidy is practically very difficult. So minor scope is there, minor scope, and for that purpose political will is needed, and some kind of reforms are needed, like replacing with DBT, etc., checking corruption, leakages. Then to some extent this will happen. Okay, but some scope, not much scope. Now apart from that, this expenditure on civil administration or simply general administration, civil administration or general administration. So again here some scope is there, and for that austerity measures I told you. So in all of these actually some measures, some scope is there. Okay, not much scope. So some scope is there in this. Okay, what are other major expenditures? Like other major expenditure is this on like some expenditures I have written here, like maintenance of assets. So can government reduce expenditure on maintenance of assets? So obviously no, because at least maintenance has to be done. It is not a huge expenditure. Okay, other is that we have discussed these, and now other become mainly basically disaster management expenditure. So it depends on the need, the contingency. So here no scope is there to reduce this, and it is dependent on contingency also. Now other expenditure remains developmental and on infrastructure, mainly like in social sector, energy, transport. So now what is remaining? So remaining expenditure is on expenditure on infrastructure, expenditure on infrastructure. So is there scope to reduce an expenditure on social sector like education, health, or in general developmental expenditure? This is the very important developmental expenditure. Now can you give me answer practically, is it any scope in reducing this expenditure? Yes or no? So answer is I have told you already, development capital expenditure in India is very low, about 12% of the total expenditure is already very low, very low. So there is no scope of reducing this, almost no. So no scope of reducing this because it is very desirable expenditure. If government will reduce this, then it will have social repercussions. We won't be able to convert our growth into inclusive growth. So clear? So even this committee, Bimal Jalan committee, I told you, suggested that government should not reduce expenditure, total expenditure. Rather, government should reduce expenditure from here, like from subsidies, from civil administration, etc. And government should divert this to here. So it should be increased rather. So so as I told you, that is the reason I told you that reducing government expenditure is, there is not much scope is there in that. In fiscal deficit, I told you 1, 2, 3. So in one, not much scope is there, because only scope is there in some expenditure, and whatever is reduced, that should be transferred to here. Okay, or what Bimal Jalan committee said, if government may reduce some expenditure from here and government should transfer here. So overall, government should not even try to reduce expenditure, because practically not feasible, and whatever is feasible, this one is feasible. This is very easy to reduce, but it will have significant security developmental repercussions. So these are the constraints faced by government in reducing expenditure. So what is best solution to improve fiscal situation? Best solution is to increase revenues, especially tax revenue, and there is significant scope in increasing tax revenue, because in India, tax GDP ratio is too low. It is half of the, as compared to developed countries. So got the point here? So there was a question on this. So these are the constraints faced by government in reducing expenditure, and some measures which were taken by government, we have discussed these measures also, but constraints. So in that question, you could have mentioned measures, but although these measures have limited scope for reducing. Okay, so this is public expenditure. Now next is public debt. Public debt means government debt or sovereign debt. Okay, debt on government. Okay, or mention total outstanding liabilities on government. Okay, mention this total outstanding liabilities on government. How much liabilities? And in finance, when we say liability, we mean debt. Okay, so liability means debt in finance. So total outstanding liabilities on government. So when government will borrow, it will create debt on government. Okay, so what is difference in borrowings and debt? Can you tell me the difference? Anybody can tell me difference? What is difference in borrowing and debt? I have already told you the difference. In Hindi, it is called udhari, and this is called rin. So what is difference in this rin and udhari, borrowing and debt? Can anybody tell me the answer? I have told you already that borrowing is a flow concept and debt is a stock concept. Okay, so flow concepts are measured over a period of time. So we will measure over a period of time. For example, fiscal deficit is what? Fiscal deficit means borrowing of government. So fiscal deficit is flow concept, and fiscal deficit is measured in a financial year period of time. So Abhishek, you have given answer, borrowing can be without interest. Mansi, so debt will be without interest also. So all of you are wrong here. Nobody remember this distinction. So borrowing is measured over a period of time, and debt is measured on a particular time, on a point of time. Point of time. Okay, I have told you already that flow concepts are measured over a period of time. Period of time. And these are measured over a point of time. Point of time. At a particular moment. I told you just like income. Income is flow. Income is earned over a period of time. Clear? And money in your pocket is a stock concept. How much money you have right now, you can count that money. But income is earned over a period of time. Other things, production in economy. Production is flow. Production is done over a period of time. Or GDP is also flow. Okay, so GDP is measured over a period of time in a financial year. And money supply is measured on a particular date. Okay, so please revise notes. I have already told you this difference, stock and flow difference. Okay, so this is the difference. So debt is actually stock concept. It is measured on a particular date, and borrowing is, the flow concept. This is difference in borrowing and debt. Now I'm coming to. I will discuss this public debt. So what are components? Components of debt. This is very simple. Just you can see in the notes. Like one is internal debt. Internal debt, very simple, whatever government of India borrows from within the country. Okay, and that may be for central government and for state government, or maybe combined also. Okay, so interest means borrowing from within the country. Second is external debt. External debt means borrowing of government from means abroad, like multilateral, bilateral borrowings, I have already told you. And other is other liabilities. Other liabilities. Other liabilities. So other liabilities means it is money of public account. Okay, so this is money which is kept in public accounts, and public account means it is money of public which is kept with the government. Example, post office deposits, provident fund, etc. Or these are called small savings schemes. So money of small savings schemes. So it is a kind of loan on government. So these are three components of public debt. Clear? So public debt and how much is debt on central government? So central government debt, because of this COVID, government has to borrow much more. As we discussed, fiscal deficit was very high last year, 9.5% of GDP government has to borrow. So fiscal deficit has increased significantly. Okay, earlier it used to be about 49% before COVID, and now it is about 56% approximately. Okay, the total public debt overall, earlier it was about around 50% of GDP before COVID. 50% of GDP approximately, 49 to 50%. Now it has increased to about 56% approximately. Okay, so it is actually, we can say now about this. So only rough idea is sufficient. You need not require to remember exact data. So about 56, because of COVID, government has to give fiscal stimulus. So borrowing increase much. When borrowing will increase, debt will go up. Okay, when we repay, debt will come down. When we borrow more and more, so debt will go up. So clear? So this is about central government. And what about states? States debt is about 26% of GDP. So states about this 26% GDP, it has also further increased. So you can check the data, actually I have given you from economic survey exact. Recently, after COVID, the debt of center and state both have increased significantly. Okay, apart from that, so this is the meaning of public debt. So there is nothing technical in this public debt. And there's a concept of debt trap. A few terms I will discuss. One is debt trap. So what is debt trap? Okay, these are tools, taxation, public expenditure, public debt. So it is not technical, very simple. Okay, and state government can also borrow. Okay, but state government borrow from within the country, and central government, but state government may borrow from abroad through center only. Okay, just like World Bank also give loan to state government, but through center. Okay, and center can borrow from this and this. And I have told you already that external debt is not much. So almost 85-90% is internal, this or this. So external debt is hardly 10-15%. So external debt is not much. Now write down what is debt trap. Okay, now a few terms rather I will discuss here. Debt trap. To mention that it is a situation in which a government slash debtor, DEBTOR means any borrower, debtor means borrower, situation in which a government slash debtor is unable to meet debt service obligations without borrowing. Unable to meet debt service obligations without borrowings. Very simple. So what I have dictated, it is a situation in which government or debtor is unable to meet debt service obligations without borrowing. So debt service obligation means payment of installment on loan. Okay, if you have any doubt, you may mention that. Debt service obligation means payment of installment on loan, interest or principal. So payment installment. So it means that the person is not able to, the person or government is not able to pay installment on loan. So it don't have so much revenue to pay installment. So it has to take loan, fresh loan. And in this situation, what happens? The in this situation, the government or the borrower become more and more indebted and chance of default increases. So this is extreme indebtedness. So can we say right now government of India is under debt trap? Yes or no? So government as such or overall government is under debt trap? Yes or no? So answer is obviously no. So debt is high in India, but not extremely high. Okay, debt trap means when country, the example like Greece was actually under debt trap. So Greece came on verge of default. So Greece was in debt trap, and some other countries also are also close to debt trap. But Indian government overall not close, even close to debt trap. Debt trap. Okay, but there is some variation in data also. Why variation? Because earlier government was not including few components. So if you see the data as per Finance Commission, it is much higher. Okay, so as per official data of government, it is 56 plus 26 will be how much? 82% only. And as per Finance Commission, it has added some contingent liabilities also. Okay, for example, so if you see the data, like the Finance Commission has estimated debt at higher level at around close to 99% of GDP approximately total debt, because Finance Commission has also included some contingent liabilities. How? For example, if government want to give subsidy for food, so government will borrow money and give to Food Corporation of India. Okay, so if a government want to give food subsidy, government may borrow and may give to FCI for food subsidy, one option. So if government will borrow, it is counted in government debt. It will be counted here, public debt. But second option is that government may not borrow. Government may ask FCI कि you should borrow and we are giving you guarantee. We are giving guarantee for your borrowing. So who is borrowing? FCI. And government has given a guarantee that we are responsible for repayment. So actually, since here government has not borrowed, so it will not be counted in public debt. Okay, so that will be a kind of contingent liability. If FCI will not be able to pay back, then government has to make payment. So it is a contingent liability. So overall, if we include contingent liabilities, so it is rather we can say close to 100% of GDP. Including contingent liabilities, and Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission said that you should also add contingent liabilities, because ultimately you have to pay back that money and you are responsible for that, because FCI don't have any source of income. So government, FCI will collect money from government and will pay back, so that should be counted. And such kind of thing is called off budget borrowings or transactions. So off budget. So what is this off budget? Off budget borrowings. Okay, off-budget borrowings means borrowings by some semi-government bodies. Okay, so borrowings of semi-government or autonomous government bodies. Okay, which are guaranteed by government. To mention this thing, off-budget borrowing. So these are borrowings by quasi-government bodies or autonomous government bodies, autonomous government institutions, which are guaranteed by government, So example like FCI may borrow, that will come under this. Or if any other autonomous body may borrow, autonomous body may be a university may borrow, so that will also be off budget. Means instead of government providing this, government allowing this any other autonomous body, and then government is giving guarantee for that borrowing. So that is called off budget borrowing. So Finance Commission criticize this thing. Off budget borrowings are not desirable thing, because these lead to under-reporting of debt. So got the point? Finance Commission, if you see the official data, means what government is releasing, like especially in economic survey and budget, that is lesser. And Finance Commission has quoted much higher level. So here, after increase, it will be about 56 and 26, means around 82. And as per Finance Commission, it is about 100. So why this variation? Because Finance Commission has included off-budget borrowings also, means which government is not including. Government is not including because government is saying we have not borrowed. So, but Finance Commission said that this actually leads to concealing of your total burden liabilities, and you should not do this thing. So what government should do? Government should include all the borrowings in its debt. One thing. And second thing, Finance Commission said that it should be abundant gradually. So off-budget borrowings, off-budget borrowing should be gradually eliminated by the center. And government should properly report all contingent liabilities also, because ultimately government has to pay back. So not so because sometimes what what government does, government why don't borrow directly? Why government asks FCI to borrow? The reason is that if government would have borrowed directly, it would have counted in budget and as well as in deficit. So in order to show that our situation is better, government asks FCI to borrow and we will pay back. Ultimate burden is on government. So it is a kind of concealing the liabilities. Okay, so 15 Finance Commission I will revisit. Okay, so debt trap of budget borrowing. Okay, apart from that, other term is golden rule of budgeting. Golden rule of budgeting. So golden rule of budgeting, or budgeting may be called public finance also. Golden rule of budgeting or public finance. So golden rule of public finance. Okay, because budgeting is a part of public finance, government finances, and as such, budget is studied in a branch of economics called public finance. Public finance is a branch of economics in which taxation, government budgeting is studied. So what is this write down? Okay, it states that government should borrow only for capital expenditure. Government should borrow only for capital expenditure. Okay, this is golden rule of budgeting. Okay, whenever government is borrowing, government should not use for day-to-day things. Government should use for the capital expenditure. Now, do you think government is following this golden rule of budgeting? Yes or no? Give me answer, yes or no. And on what basis you can say? Can you give me answer in short? So is government following this golden rule of budgeting? Yes or no? And how you can say? Can you give me reason in short? Other term is fiscal drag. So answer of this question is no. Government is not following this, because about 70%, 70 to 80% of government borrowing is going to day-to-day expenditure. You can see this is reflected by RD over FD ratio. Okay, RD is 5.1. Okay, and FD 6.8. Now you can calculate 5.1 divided by 6. So it shows, I think it will be around how much? 5. This will be how much percentage? Means almost 75-80% almost. So it means that 75-80% of government borrowing is going for day-to-day expenditure, because this is very high. So this shows percentage of borrowing which is used for day-to-day expenditure. So this is very high. So government is not following this golden rule of budgeting. Okay, other is fiscal drag. Although earlier also government was not following, but situation this COVID problem further aggravated this problem. So fiscal drag. Now what is fiscal drag? Fiscal policy serve as a drag automatically on growth. Why? How fiscal policy serve as a drag? Because just give me answer of one question. If there will be growth may be high. High growth is called boom. If there is boom in the country, growth is increasing at very high pace. So income of people will increase. Clear? Let us suppose income of a person is doubled. So very easy question. So if income of a person is doubled, then tax liability will be more than doubled, less than doubled, or exactly doubled. I have already told you the answer. Just give me answer of this question. If income of a person is doubled, just simple answer question. Income of a person is doubled, then tax liability will be more than doubled, or less than, or equal to doubled. Exactly. So very easy question. Please quickly respond. So we have progressive tax system. So if income will be doubled, then tax liability will be much more than doubled. Much more than doubled. Clear? Because if a person is earning 10 lakh, so person will pay tax only on 5 lakh, and even rate is low. And if 10 lakh will increase to 20 lakh, so most of you are wrong here. But why? What you are doing then here? If you can't answer this question, what you are doing here? Okay, less than double. How less than double? If income is let us suppose 10 lakh, person will pay only on 5 lakh. If income will be 20 lakh, person will pay not on 5 lakh but on 15 lakh, because 5 lakh is exempted only. And on 15 lakh and above 10 lakh, it will be about 15% tax rate. Sorry, almost 30% tax rate. So tax liability will be much more than doubled. So got the point here. So when income of a person is doubled, tax liability will be much more than doubled. Okay, and please think what you are doing here if you don't know this basic thing. So we have discussed taxation in so detail, so why you are just wasting time here if you don't understand even these simple things. So it's a matter of shame rather, I will say, if you don't know even this basics of this. I have given you calculation of taxation. Okay, anyhow. So what happens during boom phase, income of people increases at fast pace. When income will increase, then what will happen? Tax liability will increase much more. So what will happen? Disposable income will not increase in that proportion because tax liability increases at faster pace. And if disposable income will not increase, then demand will increase, but not in that proportion. Okay, so demand will not increase, so demand don't keep pace with growth. So that is why growth is dragged by fiscal policy automatically. But this is relevant for developed countries as such, because in underdeveloped countries demand don't play so much important role. So write down what is fiscal drag. To mention that it refers to the tendency of fiscal policy. It refers to the tendency of fiscal policy. It refers to the tendency of fiscal policy to automatically drag economic growth during boom phase. Automatically drag economic growth during boom phase and vice versa. So that is called fiscal drag. Fiscal policies serve as a drag on growth. If growth is going up, so it will drag the growth. The reason is that in developed countries, when growth is high, the income increases and tax liability increases much more than that. Then disposable income don't increase so much, and their demand increases but not in so much. So whatever is the proportion of increase in supply, demand don't increase so much. So that serves as a drag. Apart from that, unemployment allowance will also reduce. During boom, people will get job, so unemployment allowance will automatically reduce. So that will further reduce government expenditure. It will also serve as a drag. So fiscal policy automatically drag growth. And in recession, opposite will happen. In recession, when unemployment will increase, unemployment allowance will automatically increase. And technically, these unemployment allowance and progressive taxes are called automatic stabilizers, because they automatically stabilize economic growth. But for GS point of view, not so important. Fiscal drag at the most you should have idea, but it is more relevant for developed countries. Okay, so I told you this, I think at least once or twice, I think. Once I remember this thing I have told you, I have asked this question, if income will be doubled, then tax liability will be doubled or not. At least once or maybe twice I have already told you specific this question. And this is very simple in taxation. I give you calculation, still most of you were wrong. Okay, now next topic is in this is fiscal reforms. Fiscal reforms. So although a lot of fiscal reforms we have already discussed, now few more reforms I will discuss, like expenditure reforms are fiscal reforms. Okay, got the point? What we have discussed already, like expenditure reforms. Okay, apart from that, this tax reforms are also fiscal reforms. Okay, or any measure to reduce fiscal deficit, any other measure, whatever measure. So in general, some of these measures were there, measures to reduce fiscal deficit are also fiscal reform. Okay, DBT I will also discuss separately here. So now the most important measure here I will discuss is FRBMA. So Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. So briefly I will discuss this. I have already discussed this FRBMA. So write down the name FRBMA. So it was passed in 2003 and became effective in 2004. Okay, so what are objectives of this? Obviously, the most important objective of this act was what? Is to ensure fiscal, discipline. Okay, to ensure fiscal discipline. The fiscal discipline may also be called fiscal responsibility. Or may also be called, it may be called fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation. These terms are used interchangeably. Fiscal discipline, fiscal responsibility, and fiscal consolidation. So what is meaning of this fiscal responsibility? It means that fiscal policy should be conducted in a disciplined manner. Okay, discipline means that deficit should be within limits. Government borrowings, government deficit should be within limits. And responsibility also same, fiscal policy should be conducted in a responsible manner, like borrowing should be within limits. And fiscal consolidation means that government should not expand too much, because if government will expand the budget size, government's borrowing will increase obviously. So consolidation means government should reduce the size of budget so that the deficit should be reduced. So these three terms are used interchangeably. The main objective is this. Apart from that, to ensure transparency in budgeting, process. So transparency in budgeting process. How transparency? So one thing is that it means government has to show, government has to present in parliament quarterly trends of receipts, expenditures, debt, deficits, etc. So on quarterly basis, finance ministry has to put in parliament, one thing. And it has laid down the manner in which you will report the expenditure, you will report debt, because sometimes government may conceal debt by not including few things. So in this act, few things are mentioned, what should be the components of debt, what should be components of expenditure, etc. So that there should be more clarity, transparency. So one thing is this, the manner of presentation of data, and data must be presented on quarterly basis. Quarterly data must be presented in parliament. So there will be transparency. Another thing is that along with budget, 3 documents are published. What are those documents? Write down name of those documents along with budget. So one is this medium term fiscal policy. Medium-term fiscal policy statement. Okay, medium-term fiscal policy statement means in this statement or document, government has to show not only the forthcoming year but next 3 years also projections. Let us suppose government said we will keep fiscal deficit to 6.8%. Okay. But this is for this 21-22. But for next 3 years, it has to give projection. How much is projection for revenues and expenditures? So government should keep in mind the medium term. One of the objective is to conduct fiscal policy in a medium term framework. That government should present budget keeping in mind at least near future, and government should give projections also for that. So that government should not just keep in mind the near future at least. Okay, so medium-term fiscal policy statement. Other is fiscal policy strategy statement. Fiscal policy strategy statement. So what is there? So as the name says, fiscal policy strategy. So there must be some strategy. Strategy in the sense that the manner of reform is mentioned here. So government means here government does analysis of fiscal policy, and government actually mentions about the reforms which are under consideration of government. How government can reform fiscal policy, how these deficits could be reduced, how government can increase revenues. So mainly reform measures are mentioned. Other is macroeconomic framework statement. It is similar to which document? Can anybody give me answer of that in short? Very famous document is there. Macroeconomic framework statement. So here, it gives data about Indian economy. What is situation? Okay. So it gives overall what is macroeconomic situation, data from various sectors like in banking, finance, taxation, various areas, industry, agriculture, what is economic situation, growth rates of various sectors, the issues, challenges. Basically, the mainly situation, macroeconomic situations data is given in this. It is somewhat similar to which document, which very famous document? It is somewhat similar to economic survey. Okay, because economic survey, this is given Yes, Mausum, you are correct. So economic survey, yes, a lot of you have been correct answer. So it is somewhat, but here focus is on mainly on budgeting from the perspective of budgeting process. So these three documents are published. So in 2019 prelims, this question was asked. So they have asked about one, I don't remember which one is asked. This document is published as per which thing? As per Constitution, as per Article 112, as per FRBMA. So obviously answer was as per FRBMA. So this statement is published as per what? Which provision? So answer was FRBMA. So as in 2019, I think 19 or 20. I'm not sure, maybe 19 or 20 prelims this question was asked. Okay, who this published under which? Okay. Other objective of this FRBMA is intergenerational equity. Intergenerational equity in fiscal management. Intergenerational equity in fiscal management. Intergenerational equity means, so I told you intergenerational equity we have discussed in sustainable development, that we should use our resources in such a manner that we should keep in mind the future generations also, like those, so that development could sustain. So in sustainable development I have discussed intergenerational equity, but here they have mentioned intergenerational equity in fiscal management. So it means that government, while planning the budget, right, this for the coming year, government should keep in mind the future government's capacity also. Okay, so fiscal government should keep in mind the impact of this budget on future budgets. It means that government should ensure this thing, whatever opportunities government is having right now to present budget, government, these policies, today's policies should not hamper the future governments. It should not reduce the options for future government to reduce, to promote development. Okay, so means I repeat, whatever options this government is having for promoting development, future government should also have the same options. This budget should not reduce their options. How? Now, example will make it very clear. Let us suppose if government will borrow much more today in this year, so what will happen? More funds will be available and government can spend more on developmental activities. Yes or no? If government will borrow much more, there is no limit on government borrowing as such. If government want, it can borrow whatever amount. So if government will keep on borrowing more and more and spending more and more for developmental activities, so certainly government will promote development of country, obviously, and will also get some political mileage also. But what will happen? In future, the debt burden will go up and interest rates which are already high will further increase. So do you think future government would have much scope to spend on development? The answer is no. So it will reduce the options for future government to take care of development. So government should keep in mind the future also. It means this thing. So intergenerational equity in fiscal management, you know, the deficit should be within that limit, so that that should not increase the burden for future government. Because in future, if government will borrow more, then interest burden will increase much more, and then future government will pay major part of their revenue in interest, and debt may be very high already, so they cannot borrow furthermore. Otherwise, government may collapse. So this is the objective here, meaning. And one more important objective mentioned, to remove fiscal impediments. To remove fiscal impediments in effective conduct of monetary policy. To remove fiscal impediments in effective conduct of monetary policy. Now the question is that why it is talking about monetary policy? It is not on monetary policy, it is on fiscal policy, FRBMA. So answer is that I told you that when Urjit Patel committee, I have already told you, that was on monetary policy. It also mentioned about fiscal deficit. Why? Because both policies are very much interlinked, because both are demand management policy. If government will incur very high deficit here, so what will happen? Demand will increase, inflation will be on higher side, and monetary policy has to increase CRR, SLR, and what will happen? It will have repercussions on growth. And monetary policy will not have flexibility to pursue development goal. So it will be constrained to control inflation. So monetary policy will not have flexibility. So government should keep in mind that fiscal policy should not constrain monetary policy. And I have told you already, like in inflation, the reason why there was dispute between finance minister earlier and the RBI governor. Okay, because if government will incur higher deficits, then entire burden of controlling inflation will be on monetary policy, and there will be repercussions on growth also. So these are some objectives, general objectives in this. And FRBMA and targets I have already told you, like targets. Targets I told you, fiscal deficit up to 3% of GDP, revenue deficit initially 0, then later government changed it to effective RD. Okay, monetized deficit must be 0. Okay, but this was mentioned that these targets can be violated. Okay, so these can be violated. Okay, in certain cases like emergencies, like maybe national emergency or any other problem. So that is why government is not complying with this act, because the act gave flexibility to government. So two reasons why government is not had not complied at all. Although government complied with this from 2004 to 2008. But in 2008, in the end of 2008, we were affected by the global financial crisis in 8-9, so stimulus was needed. Then government increased fiscal deficit to much higher level. In 2008-9, the target for fiscal deficit budget estimate was 3%, and actual was about 7%. So it was increased to more than double. Why? Because of the crisis. Stimulus was needed, it was genuine. But later government must have reduced deficits when situation improved after almost within 2 years. So government must have reduced deficit, but because of political reasons, government was not able to reduce deficits, which I have told you already. And since 2009, 8-9, government is not complying with this. So two reasons. One is that flexibility government is rather, I will say, misusing. Second thing is that government keep on amending it. So 3 times it has been amended, and once amendment is made, so government increase for 3, 4, 5 years. Okay, we will reduce fiscal deficit to 3% after 3 or 4 years or 5 years. And when the time came, again government amend and then again extend. So this is being done by previous government and this government also. So overall, actually, rather I will say in a sarcastic language, government make mockery of this act. So it means that government did not maintain sanctity of the act. If government was committed to fiscal consolidation, government could have done without act also. So government passed this act to tie its own hands, so that it should be disciplined. But if government is actually again untying that and again tying, so ultimately government did not take it seriously. This is the main problem. Sometimes genuine things, sometimes political reasons were there. Okay, so government set up one committee. So briefly I will discuss that committee to review FRBMA. So chairman was Mr. N.K. Singh. And Mr. N.K. Singh, he was also chairman of 15th Finance Commission, which recently gave report. So Mr. N.K. Singh was chairman, and Mr. N.K. Singh, okay, earlier he was before 15th Finance Commission chairman, he was a member of parliament. Before that, he was secretary to Government of India. Okay, so and this gave report in 2017. So write down a few recommendations. So first point you mentioned, FRBMA to be replaced by debt management and fiscal responsibility bill 2017. Debt management and fiscal responsibility bill 2017. Okay, so it said that government should replace this act. And what is new thing here? New is that earlier, fiscal responsibility, budget management, all are basically related with management of budget of fiscal policy. So it said that not only just focus on budgetary like deficits, etc. We should also focus on debt. So debt should also be considered. Okay, then the reason for changing name is that debt word is mentioned here. So debt management and fiscal responsibility bill. So next point you mentioned this. The primary target of fiscal consolidation, the primary target of fiscal consolidation. Okay, primary target or even focus of fiscal consolidation should be to reduce public debt. Should be the public debt rather than budgetary deficits. Should be public debt or debt rather than deficits. Why? To mention this thing कि vulnerability of fiscal situation is reflected by public debt rather than fiscal deficit, rather than budgetary deficits. Why? Now it should be clear कि just give me answer of one question to understand this. There are two cases, one government or two B government. There are two governments, two countries. Here the debt is very low, negligible, but deficit is very high. Okay, so government debt, let us suppose is only 10% of GDP. Okay, in India it is how much? About almost now 90% of almost 99% of GDP, close to 100% of GDP overall, including contingent liabilities. And here just 10%. Okay, very low. But government fiscal deficit may be very high. Fiscal deficit may be, let us suppose, 20%. Government is borrowing 20% of GDP every year. Okay. Second thing is that debt is very high. Debt may be 150% of GDP. Okay, so debt is very high, 150% of GDP, and borrowing and fiscal deficit here may be just 2% of GDP. So which country will be vulnerable, A or B? Which will be more vulnerable, unstable? A, where deficit is high, or here where debt is high? Remember one thing, this is stock, this is flow. So answer is this country will be much more vulnerable where debt is high, because debt will be high. So this may be in debt trap. This may be on verge of default already. So even if it's not borrowing, but already it has to borrow too much. Okay. So answer is B here. So B country is much more vulnerable. A will be much better, much stronger. Debt shows what is your situation, where you are standing, and deficit shows in which direction you are moving. It is just like I told you, debt is like knowledge and deficit is just like learning. Who will UPSC select? The person who is knowledgeable or person who don't have much knowledge but learning at fast pace? So whom UPSC will select? Can you give me answer? The person who has knowledge about every entire syllabus, okay, but learning at very slow pace, not studying much, but already have the knowledge. Okay, know everything, polity, economy, history, geography, everything, entire syllabus analysis. Other person don't have much knowledge, but learning at very fast pace. Whom UPSC will select? Obviously the person who has knowledge. Okay, so this I think you must have understood. So B will be much more vulnerable. So most important, contribution of this committee is that it has made a distinction in debt and deficit. Means it said that till now we were focusing on deficits only. And this is this committee has shown that deficit does not show vulnerability or fiscal situation actually shown by the debt rather than deficits, and it is as per international best practice. Most of the developed countries, they are focusing on debt. In America also there is a concept of debt ceiling. Clear? So as per international best practices, this committee said that we should primarily target debt. Clear? And do you think debt can be reduced without reducing deficits? Yes or no? So it said that debt, public debt. Now third point, debt should be reduced. Now give me answer. Debt can be reduced without reducing deficits? Yes or no? Practically. So public debt. It said that for center, it should be up to 40%. Okay. And for states, it should be up to 20%. So overall should be 60%. So answer is obviously no. If we want to reduce debt, we have to reduce borrowing, because if we keep on borrowing more and more, debt will increase. So debt should be the main target. But obviously to reduce debt, we have to reduce borrowing also. Got the point? So it suggested that public debt should be central government 40%, but now actually I told you it was close to 50%, but after COVID it has increased to 56%. And if we include contingent liabilities, then it will be more than 60% of center, more than 60%. And states it is about 26%, and contingent liabilities will be somewhat higher. So close to overall now 100% now. Okay, including contingent liabilities. Okay, so because he is the chairman of 15th Finance Commission, so you can see this. I will refer some data from there also. Similarly, it said that fiscal deficit should be reduced to 2.5%, okay, of GDP, and revenue deficit should be reduced to 0.8% of GDP by 2023. By 2023. Okay, so exact data is not important, but broad idea. So government should reduce debt as well as deficit. So it said fiscal deficit should be 2.5% of GDP. Clear? And next point you mentioned, there should be an escape clause. There should be an escape, ESCAP, escape clause, escape clause in fiscal deficit. Sorry, for fiscal deficit. Escape clause for fiscal deficit. That is FD can be increased or decreased by 0.5%. It can be increased or decreased by 0.5% as a part of counter-cyclical fiscal policy. 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 Okay, so what does mean? If there is slowdown, as I told you already, slowdown in economy, then fiscal deficit should be increased by 0.5%. For example, it is already included in escape clause, has been included in FRBMA now. So it means that if it is 3%, FD, the target is still 3%. To in FRBMA, so government can increase it to 3.5% if there is some slowdown, means without amendment, without anything, automatically. And if there is boom, growth is high, then government should reduce fiscal deficit from 3 to 2.5. So escape clause means flexibility in fiscal deficit, 0.5 plus minus should be there. Okay, as a part of counter cyclical fiscal policy. Next point you mentioned, an independent fiscal council. An independent fiscal council to be established. An independent fiscal council to be established to review implementation of the act. To review implementation of the act. To review implementation of the act. So this recommendation is also given by, because he is the chairman of 15th Finance Commission, he has repeated this recommendation. So most of these recommendations are related with the 15th Finance Commission, which is recently. So for analytical purpose, these are needed. So data, not data, but concept actually you should know. So fiscal council, what will be role of fiscal council? It will review implementation of the act, and it will consist of members from different political parties, even opposition parties. So if government may try to increase deficit, because of political reason, they can criticize, they can check this thing. Apart from that, the other very important recommendation is that government can, in FRBMA there is a concept that government can violate these targets in certain cases. So it said that government can violate these targets in only specified cases, not in any case. Okay, there should be limited, means the government should be allowed to violate this in well specified cases. Write down one more point in this, 7th point. Mention that the targets of the act. So targets of the act could be violated targets of the act could be violated only in well-defined conditions. Only in well-defined conditions. Only in well-defined conditions. That is, there should not be a clause. There should not be a clause like in inverted commas other conditions, other circumstances. Sorry, in inverted commas other circumstances notified by the government. Other circumstances notified by the government. Other circumstances notified by the government in inverted commas. Okay, so I repeat once more this point. This is very important point. It said that government can violate in future FRBMA, these targets of FRBMA only in well specified conditions, not in any condition. And condition should be well specified, like war, like famine, etc. Some selected major problems. Not, and there should not be any condition, open-ended condition. Open-ended condition like other circumstances notified by the government. Right now there is one provision in this. So it is mentioned under this thing, emergency, etc. and other circumstances notified by the government. It means that give full liberty to government to violate it. But here there should not be any open-ended clause. So these are some important recommendations of this committee. Here these are important not for recommendations. If there is a question on fiscal consolidation, in means there may be a question analyze the fiscal situation of the government and give suggestions to improve fiscal situation of government. So this question may be expected, it means give suggestions, because fiscal situation has deteriorated after COVID. So now there will be much more focus on fiscal consolidation. So this question may be asked, what suggestions you can give. So even if there's a question or not on this, still you can put these points. Government should actually comply with this act, and these suggestions could be made in that also. Now overall, I just give you recap of this, the analysis of this. The most important, observation of this committee is that first most important thing is that it has made very clear that vulnerability of economy or status of fiscal situation is reflected by debt, not deficits, and this is as per international best practice. One point, and even name should be changed. Another very significant thing is that of fiscal council on this and this last point. So objective is that this act should be implemented in its letter and spirit. It should not be violated or should not be make mockery, just like government earlier did. So if fiscal council will be there, the separate body should be there. So then it will restrain government from deviating. And for violating target, the recommendation of fiscal council should also be sought. This also mentioned in the recommendation. So this I have discussed this in detail, although it is slightly old, because if there is a question on fiscal consolidation or suggestions, you can say these sessions should be implemented. Now what is status of this act? Had government adopted it or not? So in almost most of the budgets, government said that we are very much committed to fiscal consolidation in almost every budget. Whosoever is finance minister always committed that we are very much committed to fiscal consolidation. And several times finance minister said that we will implement these recommendations as such. But right now the act has not been amended, but lot of suggestions have been included in the FRBMA Act. Okay, so in FRBMA Act, most of these suggestions have been included, but as such act has not been changed. Okay, so it means that and now because of COVID situation somewhat deteriorated. So this is the most important actually, the issues in fiscal reforms. Last point, Tushar, you have asked. So last point is that the targets of this act could be violated only in well specified conditions. Okay, and there should not be open-ended condition. It means that is there should not be any open-ended conditions to violate, like other circumstances notified by the government. So other circumstances means any other thing, government can notify anything. So it should be well specified conditions so that it should not be misused by government. This is the important thing. Okay, and in fiscal reforms, even DBT is a fiscal reform. Okay, so fourth, we can say this committee may be fifth point, this committee which we have discussed. Now, sixth reform is direct benefit transfer. So what is DBT? Just write down one line. Okay, subsidies and welfare payments. Subsidies and welfare payments are directly transferred by the government in the account of beneficiaries. Okay, so under DBT, subsidies and welfare payments are directly transferred in the account of beneficiaries. I think all of you must have idea already. And it was initiated in 2013. And government started gradually replacing various subsidies through DBT. And the first subsidy replaced was that of LPG. So what is name of that? DBT, can anybody give me name? DBT in LPG cylinder. What was name? So in 2013, government launched this DBT by replacing the subsidy on LPG cylinder to this. So right now, you know, when you buy LPG cylinder, so you have to pay full price. And government do not make payment to oil to the marketing company. Government will transfer the amount of subsidy directly to you. Okay, earlier government was giving money to company. Company was selling you at lesser price to you. Now you have to pay full price, and government will transfer in your account. So I have told you exactly this. So this was introduced in the name of Pahal. So name of this was Pahal. Okay, Pahal means beginning. So Pahal, in the name of Pahal, DBT introduced in LPG. Then gradually almost all subsidies they were replaced by not Ujjwala. That is also rated with LPG cylinder, but that is for BPL. Government is giving free. So it is actually Pahal means through subsidy is transferred in bank account. That is the name of Pahal. So yes, Rahul is correct. Okay, so and now almost all welfare payments have been replaced, and subsidies, almost all subsidies have been replaced except few only. Just like PDS is right now not replaced by this as such, but otherwise most of the subsidies have been replaced. Now, what are advantages? And when government launched this, the slogan of this was "Aapka paisa aapke haath," means government is giving your money back to you. It means that you are rightful owner, the owner of this money. So what are advantages? So lot of advantages are there. First is that leakages. So what do you think? Leakages will eliminate or reduce? What do you think? E for eliminate, R for reduce. What do you think? Leakages are very high, as I told you in, earlier, was very high in government expenditure. So answer is leakage will almost eliminate. Almost eliminate. So answer I will prefer E. And so some of you, I think most of you will write reduce. Now can you tell me how leakage could be there? If government is transferring money in the account of beneficiary, no middleman is there. The reason is that will eliminate because no middleman. Government will directly transfer in the account of beneficiary. No scope of leakage. Okay, and there will be full transparency. How much money transferred in whose account on which date? So leakage will almost eliminate. There is only one. Can you give me answer reason? If you are given K reduce, then can you give me answer of any possibility of leakage after DBT? Can you give me answer in short? How there could be leakage? I don't think of leakage, but I can think of one aspect. For example, if there is a poor person, so the middleman may go to poor person. Do you need subsidy from government or welfare payment? He will say yes. So that person will say, the middleman will say, you know, I will let money come in your account, but you have to give me that money because I have to pay bribe for that. Okay, so in this manner this can do. But that person who is getting the money will know, okay, ultimately government is transferring money. It is no role of middleman. Certainly may not pay for long term. So this may be possible. Acha, bogus bank account, Rudransh, you have mentioned because this is linked with Aadhaar. What the point? No middleman, and account should be linked with Aadhaar. So in Aadhaar, biometric identification is needed. So one person may have one Aadhaar only, not more than one. And in the name of fake names like ghost card were there, now there is no ghost card is possible. So proxy beneficiaries, now Deepak, you have mentioned proxy beneficiary. Like how? Proxy beneficiary, now Aadhaar is needed na, for transferring money. So because without person, Aadhaar cannot be there. Okay, so almost eliminate. Okay, but there may be some innovative method some corrupt person may have, but I don't means I fail to understand. The only thing which I can understand, that money will be transferred in the account, but then middleman may take the money from him, because he will say, if you don't give me, he may threaten that I will stop that money. Okay, so this may happen, but it will not happen for long. So Mansi, no bank account and illiteracy. No, I think this is not a major issue. Now most of the people, I think, at least in terms of families, not people, I think almost 90 to 95% families I'm saying, at least out of 4 or 5 members, one person has account, at least 90 to 95%. And that I think in near future can be taken up. Okay, one is, other is the mistargeting. Mistargeting will eliminate or reduce. Acha, what is meaning of mistargeting? Mistargeting means two problems. One is exclusion error. Exclusion error. Exclusion error means कि poors are excluded. Poor may not get benefit. Poor may not have account, or migrant labor may not have ration card to take this money or something. So poor are excluded. It's called exclusion error. And second is inclusion error. Inclusion error means कि well-offs are included. Like some well-off people may be taking money in the name of poor. So this mistargeting will eliminate or reduce. So obviously answer is reduce. It will not eliminate this problem, because who is poor and who is not poor is very subjective thing. In villages, most of the people are poor. In villages, almost 60-70% people are poor. Okay, more or less it's a matter of degree. So now, but subsidy is still, mistargeting will reduce. Why mistargeting will reduce? Because if a rich person, let's suppose, taking money in the name of poor, so in future anybody can complain that this person is well-off person having this land and this assets and is taking money in the name of poor. So even after 10 years, 20 years, government will have full record how much money transferred is in account. Government may recover money. How you could put your name in the list of poor when you are so well-off? So government may recover money from that. So here there is a complete transparency is there. So that is why this mistargeting will happen, but not at very large scale. Okay, but in case of product subsidy, anybody can use product. There is no trace of that. So got the point? Mistargeting was very easy in that subsidy. LPG cylinder anybody can take and use. Okay, but here how much money transferred in whose account will be 100% transparent. Clear? So in this will reduce but not eliminate. But this will almost eliminate leakages. Other thing, transparency. Okay, I told you already how much money transferred in whose account on which date. Entire information will be there even after 10, 20, 50 years. Okay, so very simple. Second is delay will reduce. Delay. Actually, in case of like old age pension, widow pension, people have to go to government office to collect. So there was delay, money has not yet come, you may come next week like this. So now money could be immediately transferred. When government will just click a button on the computer, money will be transferred, like through NEFT, etc. So through electronic transfer, no delay will be there. Other is that people need not require to go to government offices. So other is, we can say, administrative cost will reduce. Unnecessary, why government clerk should distribute money, government officer should be involved in that. Okay, and even convenience to people will be increased. Convenience will increase. Convenience of beneficiaries. Why? Because aged people need not require to go government office to collect money, this old age pension, or you need not require to go to government office to get a scholarship. Okay, apart from that, when money will be transferred, consumer's choice will increase. Consumer's choice will increase, and what will happen, welfare will enhance in same money. How? Okay, I'll give you illustration. There are two options. One is that government is giving you 1 kg of wheat. Okay, one option. Or second option, government is giving you rupees. Let us suppose market price of wheat is 20 rupee. Just assume market price 20 rupee. So government is giving 20 rupee. So which will give you more satisfaction? Ki government is giving you 1 kg of wheat or 20 rupees to buy wheat. So your satisfaction will be more in second case. Why? Reason is that here you have only one option to get 1 kg of wheat. Okay, only one option. And here you have one option to buy 1 kg of wheat in this 20 rupee. And second option is that to buy anything else what will give you higher satisfaction. Which one will you opt? Which will give you, whichever thing will give you higher satisfaction, wheat, or maybe you may buy coarse grain and save some money for other thing. Okay, so this will give you more satisfaction in the same expenditure by government. So here I am assuming government is incurring, means the 20 rupee I am assuming incurring. Clear? Acha, so got the point here, consumer choice will increase. So in same expenditure, welfare will be higher. Acha, one more technical point slightly, कि cost of administrative inefficiency. Cost of administrative inefficiency will eliminate. Cost of administrative inefficiency will eliminate. What is meaning? So this is different from administrative cost. So I'll explain what is meaning of administrative inefficiency. Okay, now see, just write down example. If market price of wheat, market price is 20 rupee. Market price of wheat is rupees 20 per kg. Okay. Market price of wheat is 20 rupees per kg. And the economic cost of government. Economic cost means the money spent by government to provide 1 kg of wheat to poor person. This is the total cost in, I will dictate in agriculture sector. What is this economic cost? So economic cost is the money incurred by government mainly through FCI to purchase, store, transport and distribute money to poor person. Let us suppose 21 rupee. Okay. So the total cost incurred by government in providing 1 kg of wheat is 21 and market price of wheat is 20. Now from this, can I say that government system is inefficient here? Now listen question, if economic cost is more than market price 20 and this is more, so can we say government's system is inefficient? Yes or no? So answer is obviously yes, government system is inefficient here. Why? Because the government's cost should not be 20, it should be less than 20. Why? Because in market price is 20, a lot of traders are there. Okay, and they are adding their profit. Here there is no profit added here. It is cost to cost only, one thing. Second thing is that government do purchase etc. storing bulk. So certainly cost should be much lesser. And in lot of cases, usually the economic cost of government through FCI is more than market price. So it shows the FCI is much inefficient. Got the point? So who should bear the burden? Now see this thing. If government will, to 1 rupee extra cost is what? So in this example, 1 rupee extra cost is cost of inefficiency, administrative inefficiency. And who will bear the burden? Government will bear the burden. Because now see this thing. If government is itself providing wheat, then government has to incur 21 rupee. And if government will want that person should buy 1 kg of wheat, government has to transfer only 20 rupee. Got the point? So can government save 1 rupee the extra cost? So I think it should be clear. Now one more example. If there is wheat or rice is there in the warehouse of FCI and that will rot, so who will bear the cost? Government. Ultimately government has lost that money. So no such actually losses here. So this is system is inefficient, and because it is shown by economic cost is higher than market price, it shows that case system is very inefficient. Government is bearing additional cost because of inefficiency. So 1 rupee additional cost is there of inefficiency. That 1 rupee additional cost will not be there. So I think you must have understood this or not. Apart from that, if DBT will be there, so it will check resource overuse. Okay, will means we can say eliminate resource overuse. I have already told you this thing. I told you कि product subsidy reduces price, and when price will reduce, demand will increase, people buy more, QD will increase rather technically. So when things are cheaper, we buy more. So it is overuse of resources, and even wastage, resource use and wastage will also reduce. How? If electricity is very cheap, it is subsidized, so hardly you bother. Yes or no? If you have to pay full bill from your pocket, you be more sensitive. When things are cheaper, we hardly bother about them. It is very psychological thing. Clear? Resource overuse. Other example of resource overuse is NPK. You must be having idea. In agriculture, I will discuss nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. So nitrogen should be 4 times more of potash. But since nitrogen is more cheaper, urea is more cheaper, so farmers are using much more than 4 times, maybe 6-8 times more than required. Means almost double than required usually, 150% or double, because it is cheaper. So resource allocation is distorted and resource wastage happens. Another is black marketing. It will eliminate black marketing of subsidized goods. So black marketing of subsidized goods will be eliminated. How eliminate? Because after DBT, there will not be any subsidized good. Wheat will only be available in market price. Let us suppose if government will not distribute through this, so wheat will be available only in 20 rupee. But now in PDS, the government is giving wheat to be sold at 2 rupee to poor. And the quota holder is not selling in 2 rupee to poor, but maybe going to market to sell actually at 18 rupee, 20 rupee. So that is actually black marketing. Now after this subsidy will be over, and in DBT there will not be any subsidized product. So this will completely eliminate. Okay, because this black marketing of subsidized products will not be possible at all. So clear? Other thing, other objective, you know, it will promote financial inclusion. Financial inclusion. How? I have already told you why Jan Dhan Yojana was so much successful. Why so many accounts were opened in Jan Dhan Yojana. The reason was not Jan Dhan, the reason was DBT. Because poor people thought, in general they think, even I used to think earlier, if I don't have money, what is use of opening account? Got the point? If I don't have money, what is use of opening account in a bank? Okay, so poor people used to think, that is why they are not willing to open account. But after DBT, they know, even if I don't have money, but I will get money from government. If I will not have account, I will lose that money. I will miss that money. So that is why Jan Dhan Yojana was successful. And benefits of financial inclusion we have discussed already. 12, it will reduce government expenditure. It is a fiscal reform we are talking about because of this only. So government expenditure will reduce, and there are estimated that several lakh crore expenditure have reduced already through DBT. Okay, so the money which is saved is in lakh crore, not in 1,000 crores. Almost every year it is in lakhs crore which is money is saved because leakage is reduced as per estimates. So overall, these are the benefits. So 12 benefits I have discussed here. So can we say this is a very significant measure? So obviously, very significant measure. It will reduce major problems in welfare programs. Welfare programs will become very effective, much effective, and leakages have significantly reduced. So can we say it is panacea? Government should replace all subsidies. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? So if there are so many benefits, so do you think, would you give me suggestion that government should eliminate all subsidies? Yes or no? Should government eliminate all subsidies because it is supposed to be the landmark actually measure? Yes, certainly landmark. So shall government reduce all subsidies? Do you agree with me? So answer I think should be no. What I believe, government should replace all subsidies except PDS, public distribution system. So I think certainly yes, except one subsidy. Only I would, my suggestion is that except food subsidy. Yes, Rohit, you are correct. You have mentioned directly this thing. So I think food subsidy should not be retained. PDS means public distribution system, or we can say food subsidy should be retained. Why? Because if government will abandon the ration shops, so vulnerability of poor people will increase and hunger will certainly increase and quite significantly. The reason is that like government may transfer money in account of poor person for food, and person may be drunkard, may drink, and family may be hungry. What the point? Even no person is not drunkard, let's suppose government transfer money, somebody fell ill and the money is spent in hospital, then what family will eat? Now remember one thing, nothing can substitute core necessity, that is food, not even medicines. Okay, some emergency medicine may be there, but lot of are available in government hospitals also for free. So nothing can substitute core necessity, that is food. The possibility of hunger will significantly increase. And I have told you already, we were not successful in eliminating hunger till now. Okay, so even before COVID and after COVID, situation worsened even much. Okay, so situation is not satisfactory. So until unless we completely eliminate hunger, we should not replace this. Although government has started replacing food subsidy also, PDS also, through cash transfer in selected areas like in Chandigarh, Pondicherry, and some areas of Dadar and Nagar Haveli. So PDS is also replaced by cash subsidy. But I don't think it is very desirable thing. Maybe in some areas which are well off, but in general, so PDS, I think, even if you know, it is inefficient. Yes, inefficient leakages are there, but still it is important for food subsidy. So leakages could be tolerated for ensuring, elimination of hunger. But in what government did in PDS? In PDS, government started, government is using actually BAPU. So in PDS, government is not transferring cash. So government is using BAPU. So BAPU. What is BAPU? Write down BAPU means biometrically authenticated. Biometrically authenticated physical uptake. Physical uptake. So this system is being used. Biometrically authenticated physical uptake. Acha, Pratik, you are mentioning like in West Bengal in after Amphan cyclone, the DBT went in the account of MLA. Now it should be very clear that if actually that happened, then everyone could be easily caught. I don't think it is possible. Any government can do this thing. Like the money of under DBT government may transfer. Any government, any state or even central government can transfer money in the name of its own MLAs, MPs. Not possible. I don't think it is possible because there is complete trace of that. Complete trace. Inquiry will be conducted. Immediately they will be caught. No government can be so foolish. I don't think any government can do, because through DBT, if they transfer money in their own account, then it will be immediately caught. Immediately caught. So I don't think it's possible, Pratik. Okay, so biometrically authenticated physical uptake. So what happens if you go to ration shop to take, to buy ration from there? So you have to first authenticate with your Aadhaar. Aadhaar enabled authentication is there. The ration, the quota holder called Fair Price Shop has a small device to authenticate Aadhaar. You have to verify Aadhaar through your thumb impression, and then food grains will be released. Pratik, you mentioned it was mentioned in Indian Express report. So maybe corruption may be there, but I think indirectly they could not. Nobody can transfer money of DBT in own account. So they might have transferred in fake accounts and they might have withdrawn that money. Just like some people use the Jan Dhan accounts, like after demonetization, Jan Dhan accounts were misused. So they might have misused. Yes, I'm not saying corruption. They might not have done corruption. Anybody can do corruption, but I'm saying nobody can transfer in the account of MLA or MP or anybody's account directly, because that person will be immediately caught in that case. They might have done indirectly. So I think it is clear. So in PDS, so I think this is best scheme for government subsidies and welfare payments. It is nothing better than this for welfare payment. Okay, best welfare payment like scholarship. So why not government should transfer in your account? Why you should go to government office to collect? And finally, so overall it's a very landmark scheme, but what is needed? What is prerequisite for this? What are conditions, So what are prerequisites for this? Prerequisites, conditions. To implement DBT, what we need three things, and that is called JAM Trinity. JAM. So to implement DBT, the precondition is JAM. What is JAM? J for Jan Dhan. Because people should have bank account, only then money could be transferred. until unless all people, especially poor, should have bank account, we cannot successfully implement this Jan Dhan. A for Aadhaar. Aadhaar is needed because until unless Aadhaar is linked, the corruption will not eliminate. As I told you, the leakages will eliminate only if it is linked with the Aadhaar only. So Aadhaar is must. M for mobile. So mobile, why mobile? Mobile is needed for two things. One thing is connectivity. For example, if ration card holder, you go to ration shop in a village and you will authenticate. So how it will authenticate if it is not connected with internet? Okay, because database of Aadhaar, it has your thumb impression should go to database of Aadhaar of government. So without internet connectivity, this will not be possible. So and even for information also mobile. So for internet connectivity, especially in rural areas, and Aadhaar and Jan Dhan. So these are the prerequisites, GEM Trinity. So government, has put much effort on these, and now most of the people have all these things. Okay, almost 95% people have Aadhaar and bank account. So now you can see we are very close to implementing this, means with the minimum problems. So I think this won't be major problem in the next 2, 3, 4 years. I think almost all people should have Aadhaar and this bank account. Okay, so this is about DBT. Okay, we'll continue then after break, after 10 minutes. Okay, so we were taking up fiscal reforms, and one last fiscal reform is, that railway budget is no more now. Okay, that is no separate railway budget, and this is since 2017. So I told you that government took 3 important reforms in 2017. One is preponement of budget presentation, second non-plan expenditure abolished, and third reform is this no separate railway budget. So earlier it should be clear that separate railway budget was presented, plus railways was also part of general budget. Okay, now railway will only be a part of general budget just like earlier. Okay, so it should be clear that railway will be a part of general budget now, just like earlier also. Earlier also it was a part of general budget, but separate budget was also there earlier. Right now separate budget will not be there. Okay, so since 2007, no separate railway budget will be there. And why it is abundant? Because earlier when railway budget, separate budget was introduced, government earlier Ackworth committee gave suggestion in 1921 that there should be separate railway budget. At that time, railway accounted for 85% of the total government expenditure. Okay, so Ackworth committee in 1921 suggested that it should be there because railways accounted for at that time 85% of the budget expenditure. Okay, and now contribution of railway in total budget is about 10%. Okay, so that has reduced much, I think below 10%. The overall importance of railway budget has reduced much. And railway budget has not benefited in any way railways because situation of railways has not improved much because addition to tracks is negligible, modernization is also not as per international norms. So overall performance has not been satisfactory. There was no benefit and there is no logic. Why railway should have budget? Then why not every ministry will present its own budget? Why only railway? Because railway is nothing special as such for this right now. So now it is abolished on recommendation of which committee? Do you know which committee suggested that railway budget should be abolished? And that committee also said that private trains should be allowed to run in the same railway station, same railway track, just like government has decided that now private trains will also be permitted. So private companies, you can book ticket from private company and can actually travel in the private train. But railway station, railway system overall will remain same. Just like Indian Railways will run its own train, some private companies, so that there should be competition. So which committee suggested this? So this was, it was abandoned on the recommendation of Bibek Debroy committee. Mr. Bibek Debroy this was in 2015. So Bibek Debroy committee suggested no separate budget should be there. Apart from that, private trains should be permitted also. Okay, apart from that, it said that railway should focus on core business rather than organizing, schools, hospitals, and its own security, etc. So railway should focus on core business of railway rather than actually security, schools, hospitals, etc. Because railway has its own school hospital also. So it should not focus on diverse activity. It should focus on the main job. And it should adopt commercial accounting so that private investment should be promoted in railway. So these are some important recommendations of Bibek Debroy committee. So earlier he was member of Niti Aayog. So earlier member of Niti Aayog, Vivek Debroy. Okay. Now, so government finally abolished in 2017 on the recommendation of this. Now, reasons why government abolished this. Reasons is the most important reason is that earlier there was much politicization of railway budget. Okay, so that will somewhat reduce. Politicization of railway budget, because earlier regional parties, they were demanding railway ministry and usually they were bargaining with center we will give you support only if you give us railway ministry, because railway ministry is important for connectivity, so important for regional political parties. So this actually why, because railway budget is actually added machine to the railway ministry, but now they will not be but we cannot say that this will eliminate, but railway ministry will still be in demand, because railway minister will have significant say in deciding the which train will be new trains will be there in on board which route, but to some extent that sheen will reduce. So it should be clear that politicization will somewhat reduce but not eliminate. Okay, because there was demand for not to increase fares and to give more stoppages on train on various constituencies of MPs, etc. So that will not eliminate, that will slightly reduce. So one we can say to some extent some minor thing will reduce politicization. Why? Because still regional political parties would like to have railways, but we cannot say to some extent the politicization will reduce. Still there will be pressure on government not to increase fares, because increasing fare is an important decision, usually is decided by Prime Minister rather than Railway Minister. So earlier and now also, so some politicization will reduce. The main benefit will be that unnecessarily there were actually 2-3 days were wasted of parliament. So the time and resources, several crores rupees are spent per day in parliament. So that money will be saved and resources will be saved. So the time and resources of parliament will be saved, because unnecessary this exercise was there, it was leading to wastage of resources. So this was the main, these are the main benefit. Although in notes they have mentioned that railway will no longer need to pay dividend to government. So that is true, railway will not require to pay to dividend, but whatever dividend railway pay, government pays much more to that. Let's suppose railway is paying 10,000 crore, let us suppose, and government is paying back maybe 30,000 crore. So effectively 20,000 government is giving. So now government will give only 20. So it is not actually benefit. It may be mentioned. Apart from that, it is also mentioned it will enable an integrated transportation policy. But that is not very significant advantage. So transportation policy could be there even if several ministry was there. The main benefit is that to some extent politicization will reduce and cost and the time will reduce. Others are minor things. And some critics say this will not happen, but that is wrong. Critics are correct that politicization will not eliminate but somewhat reduce. That sheen which is there with this ministry will no longer be there. Some critics say that investment will reduce, private investment will reduce, but that is also not correct. So private investment is increasing now, no railway budget, and just like Bibek Debroy committee said, it should adopt commercial accounting, and so then there will be clear accounting will be there, then private investment can be promoted. So as such there is no repercussion, no repercussion of this. The only benefit is that the most important benefit is that time unnecessary resource wastage will be saved. Okay, so as such no negative impact. Okay, the only thing is that politicization will be affected, will reduce, but minor impact will be there, limited impact, not much. Okay, so these are fiscal reforms. Achha, now related with fiscal policy, I will discuss one concept that is very important and it was in news also, much in news rather, that is universal basic income. Okay, so this is a separate topic, not directly related with budget. Universal basic income, UBI. So just write down one line on this. because I will do analysis in which the budgetary situation will be needed information from budget. So just write down the definition. What is UBI? So mention this under UBI, government transfers basic income slash a given amount, basic income slash a given amount in accounts of all citizens, unconditionally, in accounts of all citizens unconditionally, citizens or people in general we can say. So normally government provide to citizens obviously. So government transfers a basic income or minimum amount, and that minimum amount is usually equal to poverty line usually. So a given amount government will transfer in account of everybody without any condition, unconditionally. Why I'm unconditional is very important word here. Unconditional means it is not for poor, rich everybody will get. Okay, it is not for any particular caste group or any region. So no certificate is needed you are from this caste or that. Okay, so it is, and it is no condition that you have to buy a LPG cylinder then money will be transferred subsidy. So no condition you have to buy food or LPG, and no condition is attached completely here. Okay, so universal basic income. So if government will, let us suppose, provide this universal basic income, and government may transfer money equal to poverty line, let us suppose. And just like in economic survey, one analysis was made that they said if we have now Professor S. Tendulkar poverty line, what is that, how much rupees? Rupees 32 rupee 40 paisa, I gave you data, but that was of 2011-12, prices of 11-12. If you see now, it will be about 50 rupees. Okay, so right now inflation is around 58%, 58 or 59% till now. So if you increase by 58 or 59%, you will get around 50 rupees now. So if government will transfer, and now per person per day, and if you multiply by 30 means for 1 month, so this 50 into 30 days, so 1,500 rupees. Okay, 1,500 rupees is the amount. And if and you multiply by a family, maybe 5 members are there, so 1,500 multiply by 5. Okay, this will be the amount. If let us suppose government can transfer this much money, although it is not easy for government. In economic survey of 2016, this analysis was made of 2016. They have said that if government will, population coverage will be 75%. So this economic survey said that there is no logic of covering 100%, because obviously there is no logic. Like there is no logic that government may transfer 50 rupee per day on account of Ratan Tata and Mukesh Ambani, etc. There is no logic in that. So I think at least 25% people are much well off. They need not require subsidy from government. So 75% population and money equal to poverty line. Okay, this much money transfer. Then how much is expenditure needed? Then the expenditure required for this scheme is about 4.9% of GDP. Even now it is true, because in terms of percentage of GDP, it will be this around 4.9 or 5% of GDP at the most. So right now, if government will transfer this Tendulkar poverty line, means it is inflated Tendulkar poverty line till now, then 5% of GDP or 4.9% of GDP is needed. Okay. Now my question is that if government can do this thing, so what will be the advantages? What are advantages of this? So now give me answer of one advantage. Can I say that poverty will eliminate immediately in one stroke? I'm saying, now listen again. So one is poverty will eliminate or reduce. So now question is that I say that if government can transfer this much money, 50 rupee, let us suppose approximately, in account of everybody, means 75% of the people, then is it possible practically that poverty will almost eliminate? Yes or no? Poverty will almost eliminate in one stroke. Yes or no? What do you think? Do you agree? Practically I'm talking about. I'm saying eliminate in one stroke. So answer is yes. It will immediately eliminate. No person will be poor. Almost no person will be poor. So most of you are wrong here. So you have given answer no. Answer should be yes. Why? Because officially who is poor? The person who don't have this 52 rupees to spend, that is poor, and everybody is getting 52 rupee, so 50 rupee, so nobody will be poor. So it is correct. Poverty will almost eliminate in one stroke, but if it can be properly implemented, if it can be implemented. Okay, so one advantage is this. Next very important advantage is that it will reduce psychological vulnerability of poor. Reduce psychological vulnerability of poor. Because once a person is very poor and maybe close to hunger, or may have apprehension that tomorrow I may not have money, there is some problem like lockdown may again happen, and when then I'm hand to mouth, if I will not get job, so what I will eat. So person will become very psychologically vulnerable. Okay, so it will reduce, because and it is difficult to imagine, because fortunately you have not gone even close to this. So if any person just think of that case, is thinking I may, or my family may be hungry. So, and lot of people are hungry actually in India, lot of people. So so this makes people very vulnerable psychologically, and rather they may think of doing some wrong things also. And even rather I will say more, think they become close to somewhat animals, like just like animals are just running for food. So this will affect human dignity. So the most important thing, it will restore human dignity. So it will restore human dignity. This is very important advantage, because if a person is hungry, that person will be able to do anything, eat anything. Just like in you might have seen some videos like in after this lockdown, some laborers who were going, so what they were eating, just like whatever, like the cow, dog they eat, and they people literally were eating such things. Some people, even this happened after short lockdown. So it will eliminate, it will restore human dignity. Clear? So this is very important thing. Third important thing is that it will improve quality of jobs for poor. Improve quality of jobs for poor. Why? Because it will increase their bargaining power. It will enhance their bargaining power. So poors will not be, it will check over exploitation, much exploitation of poor, because poor people, they don't have much bargaining power. So whatever work they get, they are ready, because at least they will not be hungry, because they are psychologically vulnerable. So they will not be so vulnerable. They will not accept menial jobs. So clear? Nobody will accept menial job. So this quality of jobs will improve, and they will no longer be prone to exploitation. Clear? Another thing is that money will be transferred through DBT only, a bank account in this. So all benefits of DBT, 12 benefits I have told you, to almost. So advantages of DBT. So I have discussed in much detail the advantage of DBT, because money will be transferred. So almost all advantages of DBT, the huge advantages we have discussed. So these are the overall advantages. Clear? So these problems actually will be rectified if DBT, if UBI can be implemented. Now, what are problems? So problems, the most important problem, some people say unemployment, willingness to work will reduce. What do you think? Yes or no? It reduces willingness to work. So what do you think? People will not be willing to work. So is it true or not? Practically I'm asking. If let us suppose government will transfer this much money, 50 rupee in your account on daily basis, will not you be willing to work, or most of the people will not be willing to work? So yes or no? What do you think? Actually, as per research, it is shown that this will not happen. In India, 2 studies were conducted by NGO Seva. I think Seva, yes. So in Madhya Pradesh, 2 studies were conducted, and it was found that the people who got this money, they started working more instead of reducing. Practically, it And not only in India, in other countries also, the willingness to work did not reduce. Rather, in those study in that study in Madhya Pradesh showed that the poor farmers who were not working in their own field, they started working in their field because they started taking risk. Earlier, they were working as a laborer. So along with laborer, they started cultivating their own field also, because they were apprehensive of applying seed, etc. If crop will fail, I will lose everything. So they started taking risk or started working more. So I think it is clear. So first of all, one by one we will discuss. Vasundhara, I am coming to your point also. So willingness to work will not reduce, but it may happen if government will transfer 50,000 rupee in your account. Then you may think, okay, some of you may think, I'm getting 50,000. Even I will be doing job, I will get the same amount, almost close to that, maybe somewhat more. So it is better to not to go to job. But would you be satisfied in 1,500 rupees per month? Obviously no. I think not a single person of you will be satisfied in 1,500, but maybe 50,000 rupee may be transferred. Like I think some of you maybe think, okay, why to work actually? Okay, so this will happen only if the amount is significant, whatever you could have earned. And that is not practically possible in developing countries. Even giving this Tendulkar committee is 32 rupee per person per day, or now 50 rupee is not practically feasible. It is very difficult to give this amount. So got the point. So in some developed countries, when amount was very significant, so then this problem happened in some developed countries. Okay, but it is not a problem for developing countries. Second thing is that it is not morally correct. Not morally correct to accept unearned money. Actually, it is on moral ground. It is not correct. Anybody should accept moral means unearned money, because it is immoral to accept unearned money. Even Gandhiji said it is immoral to accept unearned money. People not try to even take the unearned money. So not morally correct to accept unearned money. Tushar, you have mentioned like rickshaw puller will find 2,000 rupee note and he may not be willing. It may be possible, but practically rather the money is not significant here. 50 rupees, it is 50 rupee per day, and that is 2,000 rupee. I gave you example for rickshaw puller. So maybe 1 or 2% people may not be willing to work, but rather some people will be willing more to work, which actually happened. What the point, Tushar? So here it is 50 rupee per person per day, and that I said 2,000 rupee for rickshaw puller. So for rickshaw puller there is a difference of 50 rupee and 2,000 rupee. For rickshaw puller I think 50 rupee is not very significant even today. I think for a laborer also or rickshaw puller not very significant. At least person will not be thinking of not to going for job. So no, it is 50 rupee only per person per day. And in that example which I gave you, 2,000 rupee note, like one rickshaw puller will find and one Ratan Tata may find 2,000 rupee note. Earlier I gave you example. Achha, so now do you agree with this view? It is not morally correct to accept unearned money. Even Gandhiji said people should not accept unearned money. So do you agree, yes or no? So if your answer is yes, it is correct, I will say you don't have morals. Then if you will say it is correct, so I will directly say you don't have morals, because you are teaching morality to a hungry person. So you are very moral. It is very moral thing. And Gandhiji must have said this thing. So Gandhiji must have said in different context. As per whatever is my understanding, Gandhiji might have said, most probably what is my understanding in that context, just like there is a trend among people ki Ram Ram Japna or Praya Mal Apna. So it should not be that you are on the one hand you are religious, you are a good person, and on the other hand you are looking for unearned income, other people's income. Paraya Mal Apna may be the main thing. In economic survey, they have written this chapter in the context of Gandhiji's, perception. And in that, it was mentioned in that chapter also, if Gandhiji might be there, he must have supported this, and he must be the most important supporter. Okay, so it is not in that context, one thing. And now one more argument I can give you. If you really think it is correct, then why you are having food then? Why you are having clothes? You are not earning. So why you are having food? So you will say, my parents' money. So, but that you have not earned, no? Got the point? Now, second thing, if you are saying my parents' money, I have right. So I will say means the poor people have right on their nation also. Poor people, at least they should expect from nation that should give them food. So just like you have right on your parents, I think everybody has right on it, on the nation. At least basic things should be given by nation. So this is completely illogical argument. Completely illogical, morally not correct. So I think it should be clear, because it is completely immoral to teach anybody morality to a hungry person. First feed them, then talk about morality. Okay, another problem is inflation. Inflation. Yes, it is correct. So most of the studies have shown that it may create inflation, but not significant, minor inflation in short run. But that will be in short run. But rather, one study of World Bank has shown that in the countries or regions where it was implemented, it has increased price level initially, and in response to increase in price level, increase in demand in rural areas, production in rural areas increase. Some people women started producing lot of things like to meet the local demand, like clothes, etc. And even scope of economic activity increases, and because of that price reduces. So not a problem as such. In short run, minor inflation may be there, not very severe, and then it will subside. Acha, Mansi, you have written कि then why it is said not to give money to beggars. So Mansi, even sometime I'm in dilemma, shall I give money to this beggar or not? Because reason is that some people have made it profession, and some people, they are actually sending their children, or they they may do some means they are actually have made a profession, they are healthy, they could have worked, but they are begging. So in that sense, actually it is promoting that. But some people are really vulnerable, so I think they need. So it is very subjective thing. So, and here it is not related with begging, not at all related with. I think it is a right. Everybody should have so much right on nation. Okay, nation should give them food, at least basic thing. Just like you have right on your parents. So nation is also, Matrbhumi. So we should expect something from our Matrbhumi, at least basic things. Okay, so that begging is entirely different thing, not related with this. So here it is responsibility of government. Yes, obviously this is the problem, like beggars are always not needed. Now it is difficult to distinguish. Problem is that if you don't give, to money to beggars, so some people may be really, vulnerable. So, but less are vulnerable now. The problem is that less people are vulnerable. Okay, now I think what the point? Inflation. Other problem, some people say misuse of money. Misuse of money. Like when money will be given, a person may be drunkard, may drink money, then family may not get basic amenities. So this is maybe one problem, but not major problem. Like even the studies have shown in this, rather in majority of cases, people spend less on wasteful things like cigarette, tobacco. Most of the studies have shown that in majority of cases, people spend less on cigarette, smoking, tobacco, etc. after this. Why? Because usually people spend more on these things when they are frustrated. So here frustration, psychological vulnerability will reduce. That may be the reason. But actually in most of the cases it has not happened. It happened in a lot of cases, but in most of the cases not happened. So not a major issue. So I think it is clear. So these are the major problems. Now overall problems, I told you first two are not at all there. Inflation not a major problem, I told you short run, rather it will promote economic activities, it is better rather. And second, misuse of money, minor problem, not happened actually in majority of cases. Some cases it is possible. So disadvantages are obviously negligible, and advantages, can we say, are very significant? Yes or no? So can we say government should seriously think about implementing UBI? Yes, but now the issue is that there are two problems are there. Now what, there are two prerequisites. So what are prerequisites? So one is JAM Trinity. Because we need what? We need DBT first. So first problem is that we don't have now in India, 100% people do not have bank account and Aadhaar. So this is one problem. First of all, we have to go for JAM Trinity. Then we should think of UPI, one thing. But we are very close to that now. I told you already, I think it may be not long, everybody will have bank account. Almost 90-95% means household families have bank account and Aadhaar. Okay, one thing. Second most important issue, the most important is funding. Funding. So funding is the most important issue, because 5% of GDP I told you, but I think it should be 75 is okay. 100% is not at all needed here. So name is universal, but 100% universal is illogical, I will say. So it may be quasi UBI, rather should be better term for this. So 75% people, 4.9% of GDP. Make it round of 5% of GDP is needed to provide this much money. Now the problem is that if government will divert funds, so what is possibility? Government cannot print money. If government will print money, it will create inflation. So it will be counterproductive. So printing of money is obviously government should not think of. Obviously, and government is not even thinking of that. Okay. Second thing is that government has to divert money. Let us suppose, and from where government will divert? So government expenditure is of two types. One is essential, other is developmental. So from where government will transfer money for UBI? So essential or developmental? So essential can never be curtailed. So money will be transferred from developmental expenditure to UBI. Developmental like from education, health, infrastructure to UBI. So this will have opportunity cost. So this is the problem, is that it will have opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. Opportunity cost, I told you, meaning opportunity lost. So I don't think it is desirable that government may not spend on health, education and infrastructure instead of giving money to people, because health and education will enhance capability of people. Infrastructure will also enhance capability and scope of economic activities. So I think government should not divert fund. The most important problem is that now remember one thing, as far as disadvantages are concerned, so none of the disadvantages any serious. So without any doubt, this is a very, very important step. But problem is that we have to see pros and cons. So if we will implement this, we have to see whether benefit here is more or loss here is more. This is the most important problem. Got the point? Because funding is 5% is needed. Now, main issue is that funding. Now, how much is opportunity cost? Whether it should be implemented or not, we have to see whether loss here is more in losing this or gain here is more. Now, Rahul, what you mentioned, government can reduce some subsidies as they are already given. Yes. So in economic survey, it was mentioned that center is giving about total 3% of subsidies. Okay. So center is giving how much? About 3%. Actually on subsidies, 3% of GDP on subsidies. Out of 3%, GDP, out of this economic survey mentioned 1% subsidy are going only to poor people. Sorry, rich people. 1% out of this. So 1% can easily be eliminated. The subsidies which government is giving to rich immediately can be curtailed. So 1% immediately we can easily raise fund. Now 1% no problem. Now remaining 2%. So it is not easy. Maybe 0.5% out of 2%, maybe half of one, at the most 2% government can take from subsidies. Okay, because government cannot take any money from essential. It should be very clear. And other from infrastructure, education, health, no scope is there. So main scope is there from subsidies. So maybe up to 2% central government can take money from here. Okay. And maybe government may add some additional taxes, some surcharges, some cess, etc. Maybe 0.5 or 1% government can raise. So at the most, what I think, up to 2 to 3% central government can raise. Up to 2 to 3% without having significant opportunity cost. Clear? Because I will not say that government should transfer money from health and education or infrastructure, not at all. I think that is opportunity cost will be more than the benefit of UBI, maybe. So 2 to 3%. Then in economic survey, it was suggested that state government may contribute. Maybe 2% state government may contribute, then it can be easily implemented. And state government are also giving almost similar subsidy. So around 2% state may contribute, 3% center, and this may be implemented. Okay, but economic survey said practically it suggested that what government should do, government should start gradually. Government may not start with giving money to almost everybody. Rather, government may select selected areas only. In selected areas, government provide, or maybe initially to women only. So population will reduce to half. Let us suppose if government will start transferring money in the account of female only. So population will reduce to half. Here directly has 75%, half of 75%. And I think 75% is okay. Maybe somewhat less, maybe 60%. So if government will consider only women, then it will be reduced to 2.5% and will become affordable for center. Now what is the point here? Pros and cons I have discussed. Now I will tell you my view. What is my view? My view is that I very strongly believe that government must implement UBI in near future, not immediately, but maybe in the next 5 years. Okay, rather I thought that government must have implemented during COVID partially. Just like government gave some money, like food grains were given free of cost to people, and some other expenditure was increased as a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I wanted that government should have implemented that. Some experts said, and I was convinced with that. Okay, anyhow, but now that situation worst is over now almost. So what I believe that government must implement it in near future, maybe 3 to 5 years. Okay, because the benefits are very, very significant. What I think the government should keep only in one thing in mind, that opportunity cost should not be significant. So opportunity cost, I think there very easily, I think it could be reduced to half, 2.5% of GDP. How? So what I believe, what government should do, government should reduce it further to 60%, I think. Okay, I think it is enough, because I think now even 40% people are not so vulnerable. So maybe 60-65% or two-third population, means 60 to 70% somewhere. So some cost will reduce, one thing. Second thing is that the very important thing, 50 rupee is actually too much money. It is not a small amount of money. In 50 rupee, person can buy not only food, everything person can buy. Just I have analyzed in poverty line. Per month in urban area, it account to be about 7,000 rupees. So for a family here, it comes out to be 7,000 rupees per month. And I think even government may pay not 7,000, maybe 4,000 per month. At least nobody will be hungry. Clear? Because PDS will remain. I think PDS should never be eliminated until unless completely this hunger will be eliminated. So I think government may reduce it to maybe 30 rupees. Okay, 30-35 rupee. And government may reduce maybe to 70 or 60. So I think easily government can reduce it to 2.5% of GDP. Very easily, I think it could be done. And in the most of the studies, like in Madhya Pradesh, so they have paid not equal to poverty line. They have paid less than poverty line, almost half. And that was very effective. Practical experience have shown that this amount is, even it will be half, that at least nobody will be hungry. Okay, person may not have good quality of shelter or clothes, but at least person should not be hungry. So vulnerability will reduce. So what I think government should keeping in mind opportunity cost. Government may reduce population somewhat, may reduce this amount, and start implementing. Maybe initially, maybe like only women or only selected sections, and people may give it up like in LPG subsidy, voluntary such option may be given. So I think it could be easily implemented, and government must think of implementing this. Achha, what Rahul you mentioned, if 3% is raised, that is too better than 5%, and also state government should help also. Yes, state government can, if they are helping, then I think it can be easily implemented. 2% center and 1% state, I think very easily it could be implemented without any opportunity cost, almost negligible opportunity cost. So, and there is no repercussion of this, as I told you, practically. So this is very important scheme. I think government must think of this. It is the best poverty alleviation program. Achha, apart from that, one more concept is there, which is somewhat related to this, that is negative income tax. So write down negative income tax. So, income tax means, what you must have idea. If your income is above 5 lakh, you have to pay income tax. And negative income tax means if your income is below certain level, not 5 lakh, maybe below 50,000, 1 lakh, then government will pay you. Okay, so here, just mention one line, government transfers subsidy slash welfare payment, government transfers subsidy slash welfare payment in account of people who are earning below a specified limit, So if your income is below certain level, maybe below 1 lakh, below 50,000, then government will transfer, otherwise not. Okay. So here, it is a type of poverty alleviation program. So actually what is this? If your income is below certain level, it means that you are expected to be poor. So government will transfer, not to everybody. Clear? So it is a type of poverty. Alleviation program. Now, so this is very simple, I think. Here the government can target less people, maybe 20-30% population, and government has to transfer only in that. And opportunity cost will be almost zero here. Now, one question from you people. Now, what do you think, which is better for India? Practically, I'm saying UBI or negative income tax. So UBI or NIT, negative income tax. So my answer is practically useless. Practically useless. UBI is much better because practically, how do you identify poor people? Government don't have data of income. It should be very clear. Government of India don't have data of income, and the people who are poor, so they keep on fluctuating also. In villages, I think at least 40-50% people are there who are poor or very much vulnerable to poor. They may not be poor, but they may come down to poverty line. They are prone to poverty. So this is practically not feasible. Like for example, before elections of 2019, the Congress government actually announced this case: we will come to power, we will start NYAY, NYAY, न्यूनतम आय योजना. So Congress government in its manifesto means before in 2019 election said NYAY we will implement. In this they said that 20% population will be covered. We will give loan means money to 20%, means 20% people are poor approximately, officially, and we will transfer money about as per Tendulkar line poverty line. At that time it was 72,000 per annum per household. So technically it was a negative income tax. People who are earning below certain level means poor, government will transfer 72,000 rupee in account of those people in 1 year. So this was actually, and the estimate was about 1.8% of GDP at that time. So practically, can it be successful? So answer is no. It was actually very, calculated or misconceived rather. Why? Because it would have led to significant corruption, because this amount is very significant. Lot of well-off people would have taken the money. So there must be significant exclusion error here. So if government want to eliminate poverty, at least 50 or 60%, I think at least 60% people population to be covered. Got the point here? So I think not at all desirable this scheme. Okay, so they even politically they would have gained more advantage if they must have increased this to maybe 50% or 40-60 and reduce this amount, because even half of this is not very insignificant for especially for less well of people also. Okay, so just analysis of this. Achha, now one question from last class. Pratik, you have asked in economic survey of 2021, it is mentioned that there is no evidence of crowding out in India over period 2080 to 2012. So should we write crowding out if asked in exam? So it should be clear that it is just one analysis of economic survey, but all economists will not be convinced with that. Because in general, as per economic theory, analysis in newspaper articles, it is crowding out is very commonly mentioned. And I have read a lot of articles where economists crowded means they have blamed high fiscal deficit for low capital formation in India, because why investment is not picking up, because of crowding out is happening. So a lot of articles are there. So the people who have written this article may have that perception that crowding out is not significant. Okay, so still you can write. Okay, but you can give reference of economic survey, but it may not be significant. Just like as per the observation of economic survey, there has not been any evidence of crowding out from 80 to 2012. Okay, so you can mention that. But some economists say, as I told you, some say that crowding in is more, some say out, but hardly few people are there who say that crowding out is not there or in is much more. So overall, crowding out to some extent happens, but to some extent, what extent, that is somewhat subjective. Now, last topic in this chapter is fiscal federalism. Fiscal federalism. Fiscal federalism. So, fiscal, finances of government. And federalism means center-state relations. So here we will discuss here center-state financial relations in this topic. Center-state financial relations. Till now we were talking about in general the government finances, budget, deficits, etc., reforms. Now center-state financial relations. So we are a federal country, means almost quasi-federal, and some resources have been given to center, some source of funds like taxes given to state governments, and states don't have enough resources. All of you must have idea. That is why there's a provision that center should transfer some money to states. So which is the body on whose recommendation center gives money to states? So all of you must have idea, that is Finance Commission. And apart from Finance Commission, center gives money on its own also. That is called discretion transfer, especially for centrally sponsored schemes. So mainly three things we will discuss here in this topic. First of all, what are the resources given to center and state? So what is most important resource for any government? That is tax. So how taxes are given? Which tax is given to center? Which to state? Okay, first is taxes. Second thing we will discuss fund devolution, and that is mainly done by Finance Commission. So Finance Commissions and recommendations of the 14 and 15 Finance Commission, some issues analysis of that. And then discretion transfer. Center give own also on its discretion, especially for centrally sponsored schemes. And for that purpose, states are divided into general and special category states. So, and some issues in that. So these points we will discuss. So first of all, I will discuss distribution of taxes between center and states. So this is mentioned where? In which part of constitution? Where? In which part, schedule, article, where? A lot of articles are there rather. So in which schedule rather of constitution? It is measured in 7th schedule of the constitution. So 7th schedule of the constitution, there are 3 lists. You must have, all of you must have idea ki union list, state list and concurrent list. So there are 3 lists in 7th schedule of the constitution. So taxes, but list are 3. But taxes are not classified in 3 categories, but they are in broadly now about 4 categories are there approximately. So just make this table. Central taxes. So 5 columns. Central taxes like corporate income tax, CIT, like customs duties. Okay, customs duties like securities transaction tax, etc. Okay, so central government taxes. Then write down shareable taxes. So 2 taxes in this category. One is excise, or full name is union excise duties. Okay, so union excise duties, but in short I'm writing excise. And other is income tax. Income tax means PIT, personal income tax. Okay, so excise duties and PIT, only 2 taxes in this category. Okay, so central taxes and shareable taxes. Then in this category, states taxes. So you know which are important taxes. You may write down names of some taxes. So make the columns. 2 more columns are there. Okay. Excise on only one item belongs to state. Which item? Can anybody give me name of that item? Excise on which item belongs to state? Only one item. What is that item? So excise on liquor means alcohol, liquor comes under state government. Clear? Acha, one more question. Tax relating to one sector completely belongs to a state. Which sector? Can you give me name of that in short? Taxes relating to all the taxes relating to that sector that belongs to state. That sector is agriculture. So agricultural income tax, I told you. Okay, agricultural income tax, land revenue, revenue. Okay, stamp duty on agricultural property. Stamp duty when you sell, not stamp duty as such, stamp duty on agriculture property. So actually that sector is agriculture. All taxes relating to agriculture belongs to state. Apart from the taxes on land and buildings, for example, like land and building like house tax. okay, or property tax, or stamp duty on buying, selling land or building, like Banama you write, so that is under state government. So all taxes like stamp duty, or maybe estate duty, estate or death duty, or inheritance tax, that is also under state government. Okay, all taxes linked to agriculture, land and buildings comes under state government. Other is taxes on luxuries, gambling, luxuries. Although this is merged into GST, luxuries gambling. Example, entertainment tax, that is merged into GST. And can anybody give me answer ki, before GST, which tax was the single largest revenue yielding tax of state government? Single largest. It was as in state PCS. I think several times, several state PCS. Ki single largest tax of state government, which accounted for almost 60 to 80% of the revenues. Only one tax of state government. That tax has been merged into GST. That is sales tax. So, but now it is merged into GST. Okay, sales tax merged into GST now, or state VAT. Okay, other taxes are like you mentioned taxes on electricity. Okay, if you want, you can write. Otherwise, I've mentioned the list. Next tax you may mention taxes on motor spirit, and vehicles. Taxes on motor spirit and vehicles, like spirit, like you know, petrol, diesel, CNG, LPG. That is motor spirit and vehicles. Next is tax on inland waterways, like on boat within the country, not in ocean. So inland waterways. Okay, other is taxes on animals. Animals related with agriculture. So taxes on animals. Other is you know, gambling, we have discussed, luxury. Okay, these are important taxes under state. Even other is professional tax, taxes on professions, employment, professional tax. Okay, these are under state government. Okay, now in this, you know, there are three things in any tax. One is the tax, imposition of tax. So I will write I. I means imposition. Okay, imposition or levy. Second is collection. C stands for collection. So write down separately these three terms: imposition, collection, and A is appropriation. Appropriation means taking the revenue. So imposition of tax, collection of tax, appropriation of tax. Appropriation means taking revenue. So some taxes are there which are imposed and collected by center. Okay, imposed by center, collected by center, and revenue given to state, appropriated by state. Okay, so imposed by center, collected by center. I gave you name of one tax. I have told you already. One tax which was in this category, which was imposed by center, collected by center, and money was entirely given to state government. So which was that tax which I told you in taxation? Can you give me name of that tax in short? Just 3 words. Acha, why it is done? So answer is CST, Central Sales Tax. Actually, you should write tax on interstate trade, CST. Although it is abolished now, CST. Acha, why it is done? So case if the revenue belong to state, why not is given to state? So why center is imposing collecting? Reason is administrative ease. Administrative ease. Because otherwise there may be disputes among states. So it is not IGST. IGST is not a tax on interstate trade. It should be clear. IGST is not a tax, separate tax. IGST is in lieu of CGST, SGST. I have told you already. So that was CGST. Clear? IGST is not a separate tax on interstate trade. Okay, so only name will change. So this is because of administrative ease. Other tax here is taxes on railway freight and fares. Taxes on railway freight and fares. Railway freight and fares. So for why? Because if you reason is that railway is actually mainly related with the land transportation that comes under a state list. So state should get revenue, and railway is under control of central. So if you know, if you will go to railway station to buy a ticket, So first you have to pay tax to state government and then show the receipt and then buy a ticket from center. Will it not be convenient? Inconvenient. So obviously, if railway is selling ticket, railway may add tax and will transfer to that particular state government for administrative ease. So taxes on railway, freight and fares. So other you can see in the list, like other is like platform ticket, which is called taxes on passengers and goods carried by rail, air and sea, like airport entry ticket, port entry ticket, that is under this list. Taxes on commodities, futures trading, that is CTT comes under this category, commodities transaction tax. Okay, so these are some important taxes. And in last category, some taxes are there which are imposed by center, only imposed by center, but collected by state and appropriated by state. So right now only one tax is there. So why it is this only imposed by center? So because of uniformity. Because center is imposing, the rate will remain same. Okay, and the state will collect and use the money. So only one tax is remaining in this category. So write down name of that tax, that is stamp duties in this category. Stamp duties except on two things, except on agricultural land, and financial documents. Only one tax. One more tax was there in this category which I told you. Another tax was taxes on medical and toilet preparations, excise on medical and toilet preparations. That was in this category. That is merged into GST. I have dictated that in GST. Excise on toilet and medical preparations was in this category. Now it is no more. That tax merged into GST. So now the question is that GST, what is the stamp duty? Stamp duty is imposed on sale or purchase of assets. Okay, so but stamp duty except on agricultural land and financial document. Why except agricultural land? Because all taxes relating to agriculture is under state list. Why financial document? Because taxes on financial documents is given to center. Example is STT, securities transaction tax. So STT is a stamp duty on financial documents. Even the one question was asked on this, who imposed this, who collect this? STT. So this is under center. So clear? So these are the 5 categories. But what government did one change, just 2-3 minutes. Let me complete. So government merged these 2 taxes and all have become shareable since 2000. Now all are shareable. So now it has become shareable pool. Okay. So all of these were shareable. Earlier, and this happened as per 80th constitutional amendment in the year 2000. So before 2000, only 2 taxes were shareable. Now all are shareable. Now can you give me answer of one question? If I say right now, there is no tax, not even a single tax, whose revenue exclusively belongs to center, because these are shareable between center and state. These belong to state. Finally, revenue belong to state. Here also state. So is it correct or wrong? Not a single tax whose revenue 100% belong to center. Correct or wrong? So answer is correct. So no tax whose 100% revenue belongs to center. The exception is that surcharge and cess is not shareable as per article 271. Okay. So surcharge, to just separately mention, surcharge and cesses are not shareable. Surcharges and cesses are not shareable as per article 271. Okay. So this is correct. And what is share of state? Who decides the share of state? How much center should transfer to states? So that is decided by Finance Commission. So how much, so now give me answer of one question. The latest Finance Commission, all of you must have idea, 15th Finance Commission. As per 15th Finance Commission, what is share of states? As per 15th Finance Commission, what is share of states in this? Can you give me answer? You might have read, it was much in news recently. As per 15th Finance Commission, what is share of states in the central pool of shareable taxes? Entire now pooled. Share of states. I think most of you or all of you must know this thing. So answer is 41%. So whatever tax revenue, 41 will be transferred to states as per 15 finance commission. Okay, so this is you could just see this list from the notes also. After GST some changes were made, so please see that also. I just give you conceptual framework. So I repeat one more fact, these are the taxes which are shareable. Right now not a single tax is there whose revenue belongs to center only. Okay, entire revenue is shared, but the revenue which center collect from any cess or surcharge that belong to center only, that is not shared as per article 271. Okay, so now what is remaining here? Finance commission is remaining, and so please go through notes because our speed is very slow. So I will not be dictating much. Selectively, I will be dictating in that in this chapter. So please go through the notes and whatever doubt you face, please ask me, because I will be just explaining this. I will not be dictating because already we are very slow. And next topic will be industry. So I will share notes on industry also. So please go through industry after going through this chapter. Okay, that is all for today.